Chapter 986. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. Why are they kissing again? Xiaoji said, "It might not work, I'm just trying." Princess Xinyong frowned and said, "What is your head full of?" Xiaoji said, "How about I go find Long Yi?" What was going on? How could she allow her husband to go find another man in the middle of the night? You really... She found it hard to say the following words. Xiaoji was very clear about what she wanted to ask. He looked at her with a face full of sincerity and nodded, "More real than gold. If you don't distract me, my head will be full of Long Yi." Princess Xinyong held her forehead. After a bitter struggle in her heart, she gathered her courage, leaned over, and quickly kissed him on the cheek. Taking the initiative to do this kind of thing while he was sober was really too embarrassing. Is it useful?" she asked with a slightly red face. Fortunately, there was the cover of the night. Otherwise, if someone saw her like this, she would be even more embarrassed. Xiaoji carefully thought about it and said, "It doesn't seem to be very useful." Princess Xinyong said angrily, "The method you mentioned won't work." Xiaoji innocently said, "How can that be effective?" Princess Xinyong's eyelashes trembled. "What do you mean?" Xiaoji shamelessly said, "You have to follow the standard that this marquis showed you last time. Or you can improvise on the spot and add a little more." Princess Xinyong simply sucked in a mouthful of cold air. According to his standard, if she moved her lips and stuck out her tongue, then what would it be like if she did it a bit more? She had never been so impetuous in her life. Wait a minute, or was it that during those 2 nights when she ate the wrong medicine, she was this impetuous? Thinking of this possibility, her whole body felt unwell. Her cheeks were as red as fire, almost dripping blood. Long Yi, Long Yi. Xiaoji began to call her soul again. Princess Xinyong gritted her teeth, closed her eyes, slightly tilted her head, and affectionately leaned towards him. Her lips trembled slightly. It was obvious that she was really nervous. She struggled for a long time before she moved her lips very slightly. Xiaoji held his breath. Princess Xinyong was so nervous and shy that she didn't realize that the person beneath her had been set on fire by this insignificant action. Blushing, she released him and asked, "How about this?" Xiaoji calmed down and said calmly, "It seems to have some effect. Continue." Princess Xinyong held back her shyness and kissed him again. She was emotional, inexperienced, and had no skills to speak of. In the end, Xiaoji could not stand the torment of not being able to scratch an itch. He raised his hand to break free from the rope, gently clasped the back of her head, and kissed her deeply. Are you done?" Her fingertips caressed her bright red lips as she asked while panting. He said hoarsely, "It's not enough, Qin Fengwan." Who knew how many kisses he had asked for that night? She lay down beside him and fell into a deep sleep. Worried that she would press on his wound, she didn't lie in his arms. Instead, she turned sideways to face him. Her black, satin-like hair spread out on the pillow and intertwined with his hair. In the darkness, he looked at her sleeping face. Enduring the pain, he leaned over. This time, he didn't kiss her lips. Instead, he planted a light kiss between her eyebrows. The next day, the saintess in the secret room woke up. Long Yi and the Dongy little princess also came over. Long Yi hit her mute acupoint, making her unable to speak. The Dongy little princess found the knockout medicine in the secret room and gave it to Princess Xinyong. To prevent Xiaoji from seeing Long Yi and triggering an even stronger effect, Princess Xinyong left Xiaoji alone on the bed with the curtains tightly covering her. She especially looked like a forbidden item that couldn't be exposed to light. Princess Xinyong said to the Dongy little princess and Long Yi, "You two go out first. I have something to say to her alone." The two went out. Princess Xinyong closed the door of the secret room and walked in front of the saintess with a pill and the candlestick. The saintess sat on the ground with her hands tied behind her back. She could only coldly stare at Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang said indifferently, "Don't look at me like that. I won't let anyone unseal your mute acupoint. I'll make a deal with you. If you agree, blink once. If you don't, blink twice." After a quarter of an hour, Princess Xinyang came out of the secret room and said to Long Yi, "You can let her go." Long Yi went in and untied her. The dongy little princess asked Princess Xinyang, "Did she eat it?" Princess Xinyang said, "She ate it. She shouldn't be disloyal to me anymore." The dongy little princess kindly reminded, "You still have to be careful. The effect of this medicine varies from person to person. The difference is very big." Princess Xinyang lightly nodded, "I know. There are still 2 days before the wedding. There will be more people coming and going. You and Long Yi had better not show yourself in front of people." Thinking of something, she added, "Or let Long Yi send you away first. When we kidnap the dongy king, we might not be able to take care of you." The dongy little princess said, "I know martial arts. I can protect myself." She insisted on staying, but this place was too far away from the Zhao country's military camp. It was too late to send her back. She was also worried about leaving her on the road, so Princess Xinyang didn't mention sending her away again. Princess Xinyang and Xiao Ji returned to their original room. Long Yi and the dongy little princess hid in the shadows of the saintess, closely monitoring her every move and observing the changes in the effect of the medicine. In case the medicine's effect was gone, they would use force. But the effect of the knockout drug seemed to be good. The saintess obeyed Princess Xinyang and didn't make any trouble. In the blink of an eye, the day of the wedding arrived. Xiao Ji woke up early and found that Qin Fengwan wasn't there. He asked the maid at the door and learned that she had been called over by the saintess. The saintess didn't call her. She was probably worried that something would happen to the saintess, so she went to keep an eye on her. He didn't think twice and regretfully looked at the wedding clothes on the table. He put them on himself. Although it was a fake wedding, he didn't want Qin Fengwan to be unhappy, so he tried to be perfunctory in his etiquette. After dressing up, he went to the saintess's bedroom to wait for her. Not long after, the saintess, who was wearing a phoenix coronet and a red robe, walked out of the inner hall under the escort of Hong Wan and the other maids. Hong Wan held a piece of red silk in her hand. She handed one end to the saintess and the other end to Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji looked around but didn't see Qin Fengwan. He guessed that she should be waiting in the secret room. Hong Wan led the way. Xiao Ji had never seen the dongy people get married, but it was said that the wedding customs were different. But when they arrived at the wedding hall, he was surprised to find that the rumors were wrong. Braziers, saddles, and tiles. Weren't these the wedding customs of the Zhao country? He walked forward impatiently, not wanting to wait for the bride. The bride almost fell from his tug. The bride glared at him through the veil, lifted her heavy skirt, and jumped over from the saddle. Then she stepped over the brazier without any mishap. Next, it was time to step on the tiles. The bride raised her leg high up in the air and fiercely stomped down. Her imposing manner of lifting 1,000 catties startled Hong Wan. "It's just stepping on a tile. You don't have to use so much strength." The tile shattered completely. Under the veil, the bride breathed a sigh of relief. She seemed to be very satisfied with her strength. Xiao Ji frowned. The newlyweds entered the main hall, which was hung with red silk. The king of Dongyi and the other nobles had already taken their seats in the hall. Xiao Ji frowned again. Was the old guy already here? Where did Long Yi go? Why hasn't he started? First bow to heaven and earth. The MC of the Saintess's hall began to chant. Xiao Ji and the bride turned around, faced the heaven and earth outside the door, and bowed. Xiao Ji was only halfway through his bow. He glanced at the Saintess and found that she was very sincere. Second bow to the holy ancestor. The Saintess was the incarnation of the priesthood. She had long severed her relationship with her parents. Naturally, there was no ceremony at the wedding. Instead, they bowed to the statue of the ancestor of the Saintess temple. Xiao Ji and the bride faced the statue again. This time, Xiao Ji bowed even more perfunctorily. He almost bowed slightly. His actions caused a lot of dissatisfaction among the guests, but it was not good to show it in public. The last round of bowing to each other. Xiao Ji refused, but he clearly saw the other party bowing deeply with all her sincerity and trust. It was as if she wanted to entrust the rest of her life to him. His eyes moved, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. The ceremony is complete. As the MC of the Saintess Temple finished speaking, a strong figure descended from the sky. With the momentum of a dragon's roar and a tsunami, he suddenly appeared in front of the king of Dongi. His movements were too fierce and fast. Everyone only saw an afterimage. By the time they reacted and wanted to protect the king of Dongi, Long Yi had already grabbed the king of Dongi by the neck. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/826/1042088746. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Version Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 987. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The moment Long Yi kidnapped the king of Dongi, Xiao Ji also quickly grabbed the bride in front of him. With a shake of his arm, the dagger in his sleeve slid into his palm. He pressed the dagger against the bride's throat and came to Long Yi's side. Back to back, he and Long Yi were vigilant against each other. The guests at the scene were panicking. They didn't understand how an assassin could sneak into a wedding. The groom was personally chosen by the Saintess and was escorted by the king of Dongi's personal guards. Who would have thought that he was a traitor? Protect the king. A king of Dongi pulled out his sword and shouted. Long Yi kicked him back into the chair. Xiao Ji sneered, King of Dongi, it seems that you have been on the throne for too long. Some people can't wait anymore and want to take the opportunity to kill you. The king of Dongi was 60 years old this year and had inherited the throne for 30 years. He was indeed the king with the longest tenure in the history of Dongi. Among the guests present were his own brother, his own son, and his own nephew. He did not believe that none of them coveted the throne. Now that he had fallen into the hands of an assassin, these people angered the assassin under the pretense of saving him. It wasn't impossible for the assassin to kill him in a fit of anger. It had to be said that Xiao Ji completely crushed many of the civil officials in the court in terms of playing with power and people's hearts. The king of Dongi was old and cherished his life. He didn't dare to fight with Xiao Ji. He suppressed the panic and anger in his heart and glanced to the side. He asked, "Who sent you?" Although the person who kidnapped him was Long Yi, the one who made the decision was the groom who had just spoken. There were a few generals in this group who had fought with Xiao Ji before. However, Xiao Ji was wearing a veil, so they didn't recognize him for the time being. He was Marquis Xianping who had killed countless Dongi warriors on the battlefield. Xiao Ji smiled faintly. It doesn't matter who sent me. If you want to live, get someone to prepare a carriage and bring Xiao En and Xiao Zhe here safe and sound. If they lose a single strand of hair, this Marquis will chop off one of your fingers. Xiao Ji. The king of Dongi recognized Xiao Ji's voice. Xiao Ji admitted frankly, "Yes, it's me. So you should know what I'm capable of. I really can kill you." The king of Dongi had originally intended to deal with the other party, but now he had completely given up. Xiao Ji had a strong background, but her methods were even stronger. If he said he would kill, then he would really kill. He would not hesitate to destroy both jade and common stone. He looked at his eldest son and said, "Do as he says." The eldest prince of Dongyi hesitated. "Father," Xiaoji laughed mockingly. "King of Dongyi, you really have a good son." The king of Dongyi's suspicious mind was exposed. He looked at his eldest son coldly and said, "What? Are you thinking of rebelling? Or do you want me to die in the hands of the people of Zhao, just like your uncle? Then you can smoothly inherit the throne." The eldest prince of Dongyi's expression changed. He definitely did not mean that. He just wanted to stall for time and let someone get the poison to knock them out. His loyalty could be witnessed by the sun and moon, but if his father didn't believe him, then his loyalty was nothing. The second prince of Dongyi took the opportunity to stir up trouble. "Father, since Big Brother is not willing, I will do it." Very good. There was an internal conflict. Xiao Ji was happy to watch from the sidelines. He did not care who brought Xiao En and Xiao Zhe in the end. In short, he just wanted the two brothers to be safe. 2 hours later, Xiao En and Xiao Zhe were brought over by a large carriage pulled by 6 horses. Xiao Ji took the Holy Virgin into the carriage. Then, Long Yi, who was bringing up the rear, also took the king of Dongyi into the carriage. At this time, a Dongyi official said, "It's enough that you have the Holy Virgin in your hands. Let the king of Dongyi go." Xiao Ji laughed. "Do you think I'm stupid? Isn't it better to have more hostages?" Everyone was rendered speechless. Yes, if they could have more hostages, why only bring one? Could it be that the carriage could not fit all of them? However, it was not that they did not have a chance. A few days ago, Marquis Xianping fell into a trap set by the Holy Virgin to save his son. When he was rescued, he was already dying. Although he was lucky enough to survive, he was still seriously injured. He did not have much fighting power. That expert could not take care of both the inside and outside of the carriage at the same time. As long as the coachman did something halfway and caused the carriage to overturn, the expert would not be able to take care of the hostages if he could take care of Marquis Xianping. At that time, they would have a great chance of saving the king of Dongyi. After making up their minds, everyone secretly exchanged glances and sneered in their hearts as they let them go. The coachman received the secret signal from the guard captain and nodded slightly. 10 miles away, at the small spring slope, the carriage overturned. It was a surprise attack. Xiao Ji and the others were not familiar with the terrain of Dongyi. They would not notice the coachman if he went a long way. The soldiers of Dongyi took a shortcut to the small spring slope, where a large number of experts and archers were lying in ambush. However, they waited for a long time and waited until the sky was dark, but there was still no carriage coming. Of course, the carriage would not come. Not long after they left the Holy Virgin Hall, the coachman was whipped out by the little princess of Dongyi who was lying in ambush nearby. The little princess of Dongyi took over the coachman's position and led the carriage away from another road. In the carriage, Xiao En, who had been drugged, gradually woke up. Xiaoze was still unconscious. The two of them were injured, as if they had been tortured. However, they were stubborn and didn't say anything that they shouldn't. Xiao En saw his father at a glance and felt a burst of excitement. His eyes began to turn red. Xiao Ji tucked him in and touched his forehead. "Don't talk. Rest well. We will reach the barracks soon." Xiao En did not have the strength to speak at this time. The two of them were Xiao Ji's illegitimate sons. They had been raised by Madame Xiao since they were young. In their hearts, they did not dare to compare themselves with Xiao Hang. They always knew their identity and duty. They did not dare to expect their father to love them as much as he loved his younger brother. But this time, their father risked his life for the two of them. He had never dared to express his closeness to his father. However, at this moment, he could not help but move his head slightly and rest it on his father's palm. At this time, he was like a small animal covered in cuts and bruises. He carefully approached his father. He was a little nervous and apprehensive. He was afraid that he would cross the line and make his father angry. He was also worried that his failure would disappoint his father. Xiao Ji did not pull his hand away. Instead, he raised his thumb and gently stroked his temples. "You did well. The sons of the Shao family not only had to have the determination to die, but also the courage to face failure. Shaoan closed his eyes. Hot tears fell from the corners of his eyes. The carriage continued to move forward. The king of Dongyi was also unconscious after being hit by Long Yi's acupuncture point. Outside the curtain, the little princess of Dongyi, who was dressed as a guard, drove the carriage and asked, "I forgot to ask. You kidnapped the king of Dongyi and the Holy Virgin. Where is the princess? Did you take her with you?" Xiao Ji glanced at the bride, who was wearing a veil and had been silent all the way. "Oh no! We forgot about Qin Fengwan. She must still be in the secret chamber of the Holy Virgin Hall." The little princess of Dongyi staggered and almost drove the carriage into a ditch. "Ah! How did you do your job? How could you forget the princess in the Holy Virgin Hall? It's over, it's over. We just captured the king of Dongyi and the Holy Virgin Hall, and now the princess is in their hands. This. In the carriage, the bride clutched the handkerchief in her hand tightly, wishing she could poke a hole in it. "Xiao Ji, I thought you recognized me. So you actually forgot about me." Xiao Ji looked at a certain someone's trembling body and smiled. He pretended to say, "You can't blame me for this. Who asked me to be drugged? My mind was full of Long Yi. How could I remember anyone else?" Swish! The handkerchief in the bride's hand was finally torn. Long Meng widened her eyes and looked at the torn handkerchief. After thinking for a while, she cleverly sat outside and drove the carriage with the little princess of Dongyi. The little princess of Dongyi approached Long Yi and whispered, Meng, is what the Marquis said true? Did he really forget the princess in the Holy Virgin Hall?" Ever since she knew Long Yi's nickname, she liked to call him that. Long Yi hesitated for a split second between correcting her name and answering her question. Then he frowned and said, "A man's mouth is a liar." The little princess of Dongyi was speechless. Naturally, their return journey would not be smooth sailing. The Dongyi princes did not wait for them at the small spring slope and guessed that they had changed their route. Thus, they simply led their troops to the only route to Donglin Pass, intending to launch a full-scale assault on them there. They did not intend to care about the life and death of the king of Dongyi. Who didn't want the throne? In front of the civil and military officials and the people of the Holy Virgin Hall, the princes did not dare to openly disobey the orders of the king of Dongyi. But afterward, they had a whole day to think about what their fate would be if the king of Dongyi really died. Naturally, there was a follow-up night attack. However, just as they were about to shoot everyone in the carriage to death, Chongjing led the troops and arrived. Chongjing took the lead and went straight to the root of the problem, breaking the formation of the Dongyi army into a mess. The Dongyi people were left to Chongjing to deal with, and Xiao Ji and the others returned to the barracks. The little princess of Dongyi took the antidote to find Xiao Ming. Long Yi brought Xiao En and Xiao Zhe back to their tent and threw the king of Dongyi into the snow. Princess Xinyong was angry all the way and was still gnashing her teeth in the carriage. Xiao Ji suppressed the smile on his face and said indifferently, "We've arrived at the barracks. Get out of the carriage." Seeing that she did not move, he said in an arrogant tone, "What? Do you want me to carry you out of the carriage?" Princess Xinyong was very angry. She had spent so much effort to go through the wedding ceremony with him, but this guy had forgotten that she was in Dongyi. And he even brought back the Holy Virgin of Dongyi. Sure enough, men were all big pig trotters. Very well, she wanted to see what he wanted to do to the Holy Virgin of Dongyi. She wore a veil and got out of the carriage. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642/826/1041944478. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www ZHHBQG. Bikuj mobile reading website. M. ZHHBQG. Com. Chapter 988. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Yujin heard the commotion in the camp and hurried over. She saw the marquis standing at the entrance of the tent, but she didn't see her princess. She couldn't help but ask worriedly, "Marquis, where is the princess?" Xiao Ji looked at the flapping curtain and pretended to sigh. He said, "When I got married to the saintess, I was so focused on kidnapping the saintess that I forgot your princess was in the saintess hall." "Wow, what?" Yujin was struck by lightning. She looked at Xiao Ji, dumbfounded. It was too dark and she was too panicked to notice that Xiao Ji was wearing red. It was slightly different from the wedding clothes of the Zhao Kingdom's bridegroom, but his explanation made sense. She was wondering when her marquis liked to wear such flashy colors. There was the sound of stomping in anger from the tent. Xiao Ji winked at Yujin. "Don't worry. The saintess and the king of Dongyi are in our hands. They won't dare to do anything to the princess. We'll hold back for now. They can't wait and will come to us to negotiate terms." Yujin was stunned again, and then she understood everything. Her silly princess was tricked by the marquis again? Yujin couldn't bear to watch. She was obviously a smart person, but in the hands of the sly marquis, she was completely controlled. Then, do I need to prepare anything? She had learned bad things. Yujin, you're smart. Xiao Ji's eyes were full of smiles, but his tone was casual. Prepare some hot water for the saintess to wash up. Then go to the kitchen to make some food. The saintess doesn't eat spicy food. Remember to put less chili. There was no longer the sound of stomping in the tent, but the sound of pounding on the table. Yujin couldn't bear it. "Marquis, don't go too far." "I know. Go." Xiao Ji suppressed his smile and turned to enter the tent. Yujin had carefully tidied up the tent. She added some furniture and changed the bedding to softer and warmer ones. At this moment, Princess Xinyang was sitting on a stool covered with a cotton cushion. From head to toe, she exuded an aura of wanting to kill Xiao Ji. The Eastern barbarian's wedding robes had pockets that were hidden in the creases on both sides. With his hands in his pockets, Xiao Ji walked over to Princess Xinyang and sat down next to her. "Saintess, you must be tired from the long journey. Are you tired? I was locked up in the Saint Lady Temple, but you only cared about the Saint Lady. If I had Long Yi's martial arts, you would have already lost your life." Xiao Ji couldn't hold it in any longer. She couldn't suppress the smile on her face. Fortunately, she was wearing a veil and couldn't see it. He got up and fiddled with something in the tent. It seemed like he had lit a candle. Princess Xinyang felt that there was light on the ground. Xiao Ji said softly, "Just now when we were bowing to the heavens and earth, Madam was so sincere that this Xiao was neglectful. I feel guilty in my heart, but I will not let you down in the future." "You're already calling me your husband. You've never called me that before." Princess Xinyang's decades of calmness were completely shattered at this moment. She was finally angered to the point that she was like a little chicken. She raised her hand and was about to lift the veil and lay her cards on the table. She wanted to tell him that from now on, she would never have any contact with him. Who would have thought that before she could lift her hand, Xiao Ji's big palm gently caught her hand. Xiao Ji said, "The veil on the wedding night should be lifted by your husband." "Marquis, the hot water is here." Yujin's voice came from outside the door. "Bring it in," Xiao Ji said. Yujin brought in a basin of hot water, then turned around to bring in a box of snacks. "The food will take some time. Marquis and cough, you two fill your stomachs first." After she left, Princess Xinyang continued to be angry. But suddenly, a strange thing entered her eyes. It seemed a little familiar, but she couldn't remember where. Before she could think of anything, the veil was lifted. What entered her eyes was a handsome and enchanting face, just like that youth who had used the jade ruby to lift her veil on their wedding night many years ago. His face had the grace of time, but the anticipation and joy in his eyes had not changed at all. He looked at her with a smile, carrying a purity and beauty that had not been eroded by time. Of course, there was also a hint of mature and restrained dominance. Princess Xinyang was stunned. For a moment, she felt like she had returned to 20 years ago. Compared to 20 years ago, the two had changed more in temperament. Time seemed to have forgotten them to some extent. She was still as beautiful as before, and he was still as handsome and elegant as before. "You!" She opened her mouth, but found that she couldn't make a single sound. She lowered her head to look at the thing in his hand. No wonder it looked familiar. It was the jade ruby. No matter how stupid she was, she understood now. When he had lifted her veil, he had not shown any shock. This meant that he knew it was her under the veil. This guy, had he been teasing her the whole time? She felt that this was not right and wanted to be angry with him. But when she saw his expression, which was the same as before, and the jade ruby in his hand, as well as the dragon, phoenix, incense, and candles that had been lit on the table at some point, her heart unconsciously moved. "When did you prepare these?" she asked in a low voice. "You're talking about this." Xiao Ji looked at the jade ruby in his hand with a smile and said, "On the way." When we were about to reach the military camp, we stopped in the town. The carriage stopped? She had only been angry and had not paid attention to these details. Did he deliberately let her be the saintess all the way just for this? Thinking about it, if he had said earlier that he had recognized her, then in front of Long Yi and Gender, she would have been too shy to continue wearing the veil and pretending to be a bride. She had thought that everything would be over after the wedding ceremony. That was the time she and Long Yi had agreed to make their move. She had no more extravagant demands. But how did this man think of such a malicious move? On one hand, he made her angry, but on the other hand, he took advantage of her inattention to get the dragon, phoenix, incense, and jade ruby. Xiao Ji had not only gotten the dragon, phoenix, incense, and jade ruby, but also the nuptial wine that they had not drunk before. He poured 2 cups of wine and handed one to her. The wine at the border is not as fragrant as the imperial wine in the palace, so you have to make do with it. Princess Xinyang looked down at the light in the wine cup. "How did you recognize me?" Xiao Ji smiled. "You bowed like that. Were you afraid that I wouldn't recognize you?" Princess Xinyang blushed. "Didn't you do the same back then?" The two's wrists intertwined, and they drank the nuptial wine that had been delayed for more than 20 years. She didn't know if it was the effect of the wine or the burning charcoal in the tent, but her cheeks were red. Xiao Ji gazed deeply at her. "Qin Fengwan, do you know what nuptial wine means?" Princess Xinyang was startled by his sudden question. He didn't expect her to answer and continued, "After drinking nuptial wine, we live in the same quilt, and we die in the same fur." It even rhymed quite well. Princess Xinyang mumbled, "Why haven't I heard of it?" He put the empty wine cup back on the table and said righteously, "There will be in the future. It will be recorded in the history books. It was me who said it." Princess Xinyang put the wine cup next to his cup. Even the cups were paired, which was very appropriate for the occasion. "And then?" she asked after gathering her courage. Xiao Ji glanced at her. "And then what? After drinking nuptial wine, what should I do?" "Naturally, we should consummate our marriage," Xiao Ji said and looked at her seriously. "Qin Fengwan, you should know when to stop. Don't you know what kind of occasion this is? Drinking nuptial wine with you is already very indulgent of you, and you still want to consummate our marriage?" Princess Xinyang glanced at his wound. "Oh." Xiao Ji frowned. "It's not that I can't, but consummating our marriage in the military camp is against the rules. Also, do you think those people are deaf? People who practiced martial arts had excellent hearing." Princess Xinyang thought that the commotion could be heard at any time, so she didn't have the courage to consummate her marriage. After washing up, the two lay on the soft bed. "You're wound," she said. "It's fine," he said. It's impossible for us to consummate our marriage. Princess Xinyang lowered her eyes. Oh. Xiao Ji smiled faintly. Qin Fengwan, are you very disappointed? No, Princess Xinyang said. She lay flat beside him and pulled up the quilt. Xiao Ji said, That's good. Don't take advantage of me in the middle of the night. I'm a bit cold, Princess Xinyang said. Xiao Ji, if you want me to hug you, just say it. Princess Xinyang's face was slightly red. Hug me. Xiao Ji. He looked at the blushing Princess Xinyang beside him in disbelief. Could it be that he had bought the wrong wine? He told the owner to get the one with the least alcohol content. Did the owner give him the one with the most alcohol content? Princess Xinyang's heart was on fire. Alcohol boosts courage. She couldn't hold her liquor well. At best, she was only a bit better than Gu Jiao, but not by much. After drinking a cup, the past flashed through her mind. The more she thought about their wedding night, the more she felt that she owed him, and the more she regretted missing out on the beauty they had missed out on all these years. How many 20 years could a person have in their life? One wasted night was one less night. It was as if her conception and governing vessels had been opened, and all her previous understandings were overturned. Xiao Ji didn't consummate their marriage not because he was retreating but because he really didn't plan on taking her here. First, it was because of his injury. Second, she was a noble. This was her sincere first time, so he didn't want to be so hasty. But a certain someone was drunk tonight and kept rubbing against him. He looked at the restless woman in his arms and took a deep breath. Qin Fengwan, what are you doing now? Princess Xinyang's hand went deep into his clothes. I'm not doing anything. I'm just touching. Xiao Ji. Qin Fengwan, you're drunk, he said helplessly. He took Qin Fengwan's hand out. Princess Xinyang inadvertently acted coquettishly. I can't sleep. I'm a bit hot. Xiao Ji's blood rushed to his head, and he pulled her onto his body. He held her head and kissed her domineeringly and forcefully. The fragrance of the wine lingered between his lips and teeth. He tasted her beauty, and his hand unconsciously caressed her sensitive waist. But he didn't go overboard. He held it in. After kissing for an unknown amount of time, her body suddenly tightened, and her mind went blank. Xiao Ji froze. Princess Xinyang let go of his lips with a red face and buried her head in his arms, not moving at all. Xiao Ji was shocked. Qin Fengwan, I only kissed you, and you actually... Princess Xinyang was so embarrassed. Yes, it was only a kiss. Why did I? Xiao Ji hugged her and murmured in a daze. You didn't take your medicine tonight. Why are you more sensitive than if you took your medicine? Princess Xinyang was too ashamed to see anyone. Just now, she had also sobered up, and her mind was unprecedentedly clear. And it was precisely because she was clear-headed that she wanted to die even more. So embarrassing. Xiao Ji calmed down and said seriously, if you really want it, I can also... Shut up. Princess Xinyang didn't allow him to mention this matter again. She got off his body and pulled the blanket over her head, deciding to shut herself in and not see anyone for the rest of her life. Xiao Ji lifted the blanket and went out. Princess Xinyang didn't know why he suddenly left, but from his restrained actions tonight, she guessed that he wanted her to calm down by herself. Outside the tent, the sound of soldiers gathering could be heard. The sound of horses' hooves and armor rubbing against each other could be heard. Princess Xinyang was dumbfounded. Didn't I just do that? As for training soldiers in the middle of the night to calm down? A quarter of an hour later, the sound of soldiers gathering gradually stopped. Her mind was buzzing, and she couldn't tell what had happened. The next second, the tent's curtain was lifted, and a figure wearing the moon and stars quickly walked in. He first locked the curtains, then strode to the bedside. He took off his clothes. Princess Xinyang heard the rustling sounds behind her and turned around in a daze, looking at him in confusion. You? What are you doing? Consummating the marriage, he said. Princess Xinyang looked at him in surprise. But didn't you say, it's against the rules? He untied his belt. I am the rules. Then they went out. So you woke them up in the middle of the night not to train soldiers, but to drive them all out. How much better is this than letting them hear the commotion? Tomorrow, the entire border will know that a first-rank Marshal Marquis of Zhao country kicked the soldiers out of the barracks in the middle of the night in order to have sex with his wife. Princess Xinyang. I might as well die. That night, he was extremely gentle. He treated her like a treasure that he had protected for a lifetime, giving her all the beauty of the consummation of the marriage. Digression. The little chick Marquis and the princess's story ends here. What does everyone think? P.S. Last few hours, don't waste your monthly votes, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1041909040. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 989. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. After Xiao Ming took the antidote, he finally woke up on a dark and windy night. However, what puzzled him the most was that the huge military camp was completely empty. There wasn't a single person in sight. It was ridiculous. Did the Dongi people already occupy the border? Did they kill all the soldiers in the camp? It couldn't be that all the soldiers were sent out. Since ancient times, there had never been such a precedent. Just when he was puzzled, a muscular black shadow flashed into his tent and carried him along with his mattress. Then, the shadow ran out of the camp as if it was flying. It was Long Yi. They only remembered that they had left the poisoned Xiao Ming in the camp when they were far away. He came back to take Xiao Ming away. Long Meng Meng was not a bad shadow guard Long who would eavesdrop. His ears were stuffed with cotton. The soldiers in the camp wandered outside for 3 days before they were allowed to return to the camp. During these 3 days, they couldn't return to the camp, but they couldn't really wander outside, so they went to rob the Dongi people. Chong Jing and the first prince of Dongi's army were engaged in a fierce battle. A terrifying torrent of armors surged in unstoppably. Chong Jing just raised his long sword to stab the second prince of Dongi when his sword was knocked away. He turned around and found that it was his own people. He couldn't lose his temper. Chong Jing's face darkened. Xiao Ming's poison had been cured, and Xiao En and Xiao Zhe had successfully escaped danger. The Eastern barbarians no longer had any means of restraining the Zhao kingdom. The soldiers' sullen mood from being woken up in the middle of the night and chased out of the barracks was vented on the Eastern barbarians. The Eastern barbarians were beaten to a pulp and surrendered within a few days. The Dongi people looked at the army of the Zhao kingdom that didn't return to the capital at all. They thought that they had surrendered and signed the oppressive treaty. Why didn't they leave? The soldiers felt bitter, but they didn't say anything. Xiao Ji was injured. Although he had taken the medicine from the Saint Lady Temple and was recovering very well, even if it was excessive, it still had an impact. Not only was his wound torn open, but he had also caught a cold. Princess Xinyang was no better than him. She was the one who had infected Xiao Ji with the cold. Achoo! In Xiao Ming's tent, Xiao Ji sneezed heavily. Xiao Ming looked at his brother with a speechless expression. Big brother, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're not a brat who hasn't tasted meat. How can you be so unrestrained? Look at your injuries and illnesses. Those who don't know what's going on might wonder what's wrong with you. Xiao Ji's nose was blocked. She said in a nasal voice, "You don't understand the happiness of being newlyweds." Xiao Ming, a newlywed for over 20 years, ha. Achoo! 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 In another tent, Princess Xingyang sat on the bed, wrapped in a blanket, sneezing incessantly. Yu Jin's heart ached for her. She hurriedly took the ginger soup from the table and handed it to her. Hurry up and drink it while it's hot. You'll be sweating all over. Princess Xingyang raised her hand, intending to take the ginger soup, but found that she didn't even have the strength to move her arm. Eugene face-bombed. What's going on? She shook her head, picked up the spoon, and began to feed her princess spoonful by spoonful. As she fed, she said resentfully, "The Marquis is really too much. He knows that the princess is young, experienced in human affairs. He should know how to control himself." Princess Xingyang lowered her eyes and drank the medicine. She mumbled an N. She felt a bit guilty. After all, he wasn't the only one who didn't know how to control himself. A great victory at the border. Xiao Ji released the king of Dongyi, but he couldn't bear the burden himself. A few days later, he fell seriously ill and passed away before he could issue a decree to pass on the throne. After the foreign invasion, Dongyi began to have internal strife. Several princes fought until their faces turned red, but the result of their ascension surprised everyone. The new king was actually the Holy Maiden of Dongyi. Her husband was the son of a noble from the Zhao kingdom. Good plan, Qin Fengwan. On the carriage back to the capital, Xiao Ji crossed his arms and calmly looked at Princess Xingyang, who said that women were inferior to men. Qin Fengwan wasn't interested in court politics. Otherwise, she could also be a regent princess. That day, everyone thought that Qin Fengwan had drugged the Holy Maiden, but that wasn't the case. Qin Fengwan clearly gave the Holy Maiden two choices. The first was to be drugged and forced to submit to her. The second was to make a deal, and both sides would take what they needed. When she heard that Qin Fengwan wanted to use the throne of Dongyi in exchange for the chance to marry Xiao Ji, the Holy Maiden thought that Qin Fengwan was crazy. Qin Fengwan wasn't crazy. She just felt that this man was worth it. She proposed this condition based on many considerations. The Holy Maiden was ambitious and capable. No matter which prince succeeded the throne in the future, he wouldn't be able to withstand the rebellion of the Holy Maiden Temple. Instead, it was better to take advantage of the situation and help the Holy Maiden to the throne. There was also an additional condition. The Holy Maiden had to marry into the Zhao kingdom. She would decide on the candidate. After Xiao Ming woke up, he recognized his daughter. From then on, there was no longer a little princess of Dongyi in the world. There was only the daughter of the Xiao family, Xiao Zhen. Xiao Zhen was going to be recorded in the genealogy. She returned to the capital with Xiao Ji and Qin Fengwan. On the day before they set off, a small episode occurred. Xiao Ming grabbed a long sword and chased Long Yi around the military camp. You stop. He couldn't beat Long Yi, and he couldn't catch up with him. Long Yi's face wasn't red and he wasn't out of breath, but he was about to faint. The story started when Long Yi and Xiao Zhen went to the Holy Maiden Temple to find Xiao Ji and Qin Fengwan. Xiao Ji was drugged, and it had an effect on Long Yi. In order to prevent the drug's effect from getting worse, Qin Fengwan asked Zhen to take Long Yi to another room to stay for a few nights. Who would have thought that after searching the entire Holy Maiden Temple, there would only be one room that was close to the inner hall and no one had passed by? Zhen wanted to say something but stopped. But seeing that her uncle and his wife were glued to each other, she couldn't bear to separate them, so she stayed in the room with Long Yi. But she swore to God that there was nothing between her and the big guy. Long Yi didn't easily fall asleep in an unfamiliar place. He stayed on the roof beam and vigilantly watched the movements of the Holy Maiden Temple all night long. Long Yi was simple and didn't think much about it. Zhen also felt that it wasn't worth mentioning. It was best to let this matter rot in each other's stomachs. Who would have thought that she drank a few mouthfuls of horse milk wine that night and accidentally let it slip and let her father hear about it? Xiao Ming firmly believed that Long Yi had ruined his daughter's reputation and wanted to chop Long Yi, this bastard. While running, Long Yi turned his head and looked back, making Xiao Ming angry. After Xiao En and Xiao Zhe recovered, they went to pay their respects to Qin Fenghuan. Princess. The two cupped their hands and bowed. In their impression, Princess Xinyang didn't accept their father, so naturally, she wouldn't accept their father's children. Qin Fenghuan didn't force them to call her mother. She made 2 sets of clothes for the 2 of them. This was the first time the 2 of them had received a gift from her, so they were a little confused. Qin Fenghuan said warmly, "You're all grown up and should get married. Do you have a girl you like? If you do, I'll go and propose marriage." The 2 of them looked at her in disbelief. Qin Fenghuan continued, "If you don't have one, I'll choose 1 or 2 for you. Naturally, I'll go and send the betrothal gifts only if they suit your taste." Did the princess accept them? Qin Fenghuan looked at them and said, "I heard from your second uncle that you'll be able to return to the capital at the end of this year." It just so happens that Qing, and Yi haven't seen their 2 older brothers yet. The 2 of them choked with sobs as they hugged the clothes she had personally sewn and bowed deeply. At the end of April, Xiao Ji and Qin Fenghuan's carriage arrived at the capital. "Take the busiest street. Open all the windows. Lift the curtains as well," Xiao Ji instructed boldly. Chong Jing drove the carriage and asked in confusion, "Why do you have to do this?" Xiao Ji flicked his wide sleeves and said infuriatingly, "This marquis is so handsome. Let the people see more of me." Chong Jing. What Xiao Ji wanted the people to see wasn't his face but his and Qin Fenghuan's love. Didn't the people say that he and Qin Fenghuan didn't get along well? He wanted them to open their eyes wide and see. "Go around again," he instructed Chong Jing. Chong Jing complained helplessly, "We've already gone around 3 times. All the people in the capital saw you sitting in Princess Xinyang's carriage. That person didn't see it." Xiao Ji pointed at a beggar on the side of the road. Chong Jing said expressionlessly, "Because he's blind." Xiao Ji. "Then go and tell him." Chong Jing. After going around 3 more times, the sky was dark. Only then did Xiao Ji let Chong Jing end today's parade in satisfaction. "Are we going back to the residence?" Chong Jing didn't have a temper anymore. Xiao Ji raised his eyebrows. "No, to the palace." As soon as the 2 of them arrived at the palace gate, they were picked up by Eunuch Wei, who was by the emperor's side, and Eunuch Su, who was by Empress Zhao's side. In the imperial study, the emperor wanted to say something several times but didn't. Qin Fenghuan calmly glanced at him and asked, "What's the matter, Your Majesty?" The fear of being dominated by his imperial sister came. The emperor silently wiped the sweat from his forehead. She was clearly his younger sister, but why did it feel like she was his imperial sister when she was serious? The emperor finally said it. He sighed. "Xinyang, I heard that you found a new gigolo." Qin Fenghuan asked strangely, "Where did this come from?" The emperor raised his hand. "Don't hide it from me. It spread throughout the palace that you went to the border and bumped into Xiao Ji's romantic affair. In a fit of anger, you found a gigolo who looked like Xiao Ji and even paraded around the capital for an entire day to humiliate Xiao Ji." Qin Fenghuan's mouth twitched. Did she swim around all day and feel lonely? How did Xiao Ji become her gigolo? In Cunning Palace, Xiao Ji was also being interrogated by Empress Xiao. "Brother, tell me the truth. Are the rumors outside true? Did you really bring an unfamiliar woman back to the capital? You even let all the people in the capital see it. Are you finally unable to stand that woman anymore? Have you decided to revolt?" Xiao Ji frowned. "What's going on?" Empress Xiao was Xiao Ji's younger sister, so of course, she would side with Xiao Ji. She said happily, "That's true. She treated you so badly all these years. You should have taken in another concubine to anger her. What's her status? If it's not enough, I'll help you raise it up and make sure your sweetheart becomes a concubine." Xiao Ji looked at his younger sister worriedly. "If you let Qin Fenghuan become a concubine, aren't you afraid that she'll give the emperor 100 concubines?" They deliberately showed off their love, but in the end, they showed off a bunch of chicken feathers. The couple was also very sullen. Digression. I actually wrote another digression for this chapter. I laughed until I cried. P.S. A new chapter has started. Begging for a wave of monthly votes, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are novels with connotations that can't be found online here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1041744240. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com BQ mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 990. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The news of Xiao Ji and Qin Fenghuan taking their concubines and male companions to parade through the streets caused a sensation in the capital. Those who recognized Xiao Ji said that Xiao Ji took his concubines, and those who recognized Qin Fenghuan said that Qin Fenghuan took her male companions. Both of them recognized each other. In any case, no one believed it. In short, no one in the capital believed that the two of them were truly in love. At best, it was just the imperial family putting on a show. These princes and nobles all care about face. They appear to be united but are actually divided. They put on a show for us common people to see, but who knows what they're like in private. This was what a small eunuch in charge of purchasing told the two of them word for word. Qin Fenghuan's face turned green. Xiao Ji's face was also not much better. He didn't give up and said domineeringly, "This marquis and the princess had a daughter in these 2 years." "What did they say?" The small eunuch braced himself and said, "They all said that the princess drugged you and ran away after using you. She even threw you away." Xiao Ji, Qin Fenghuan, Xiao Hang had just left the inner pavilion when he heard about the storm on the streets. They caused such a big commotion on the first day of returning to the capital. As expected of his parents, he simply didn't know what to say. When he returned to the mansion, he asked the servants if his parents had returned. The servants said no and seemed to have gone to the palace. As for how the servants knew, it had to start with Long Yi. The first thing Long Yi did when he returned to the capital was to find the twins. Naturally, he mentioned the whereabouts of Xiao Ji and Qin Fenghuan to Yu Ye. Xiao Zhen didn't come back with them because the matter before leaving made Xiao Ming change his mind. He let his daughter return to the capital with Xiao En and Xiao Zhe at the end of the year to avoid Long Yi, this bad guy who took advantage of his daughter. Gu Jiao had already finished packing and was waiting for Xiao Hang. Xiao Hang kissed his wife and went to the inner room to change his clothes. Then, he sat in the carriage with her and entered the palace. In the carriage, Xiao Hang waited for a while, but Yu Ye didn't come back with the two children. Yen and Song, Gu Jiao said. Long Yi left, it's okay, they will enter the palace in a moment. As for whether he would go through the gate or not, that would depend on Long Yi's idea. If he wanted to leap over eaves and vault over walls, then the imperial bodyguards wouldn't be able to stop him. Xiao Hang heaved a long sigh of relief. Thank God, Mom and Dad are finally back. The twins could be sent away, and Yi could be sent away. He could spend time with Jiao Jiao again. He was happy. Brother. Sister-in-law. A small head with a small bun on her head poked through the curtain of the carriage and looked at the two cutely. Xiao Hang was in a very good mood because he would be able to return the little fellow to its rightful owner in a while, along with the gift of the twins. The three of them entered the palace. Xiao Ji and Qin Fenghuan were still unhappy about the rumors. The two of them sat in the pavilion, and the flowers in the imperial garden didn't dare to bloom. Xiao Hang held Xiao Yi's hand and looked at the pavilion in front of them. He said, Do you see Mom and Dad? Quickly go and greet them. Xiao Yi turned her little head, and her eyes shone. Brother Chong Jing. She decisively waved her little hand and went to look for Chong Jing. The two of them didn't care that their youngest daughter had been abducted by Chong Jing, and they sat in the pavilion and sighed. Xiao Hang and Gu Jiao walked over and greeted the two of them. Xiao Ji looked at his son and daughter-in-law and asked, "You should have heard the rumors outside. What do you think?" "What rumors?" Gu Jiao asked. It was a bit difficult to say such words in front of the children. Even Xiao Ji hesitated for a while before coughing lightly and saying seriously, "I brought a woman back from the border. Your mother has a gigolo." Xiao Heng mumbled, Is it a rumor?" Xiao Ji, Marquis, Princess, you're back." Steward Lu quickly walked over with a large pile of high-quality tonics, which Xiao Hang had prepared for Empress Dowager Zhuang. Xiao Ji waved at him. "Come here." "Yes, Marquis." As Xiao Ji's confidant, Steward Lu had always been loyal to Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji looked at Qin Fengwan beside him and held Qin Fengwan's hand in front of everyone. He said solemnly, "The princess and I have rekindled our relationship. From now on, we will be a loving couple who will never leave each other." Qin Fengwan blushed. The pavilion was silent for a full 3 seconds. Xiao Ji said indifferently, "What? You don't believe me?" I believe. Steward Lu's face was wild with joy. "Congratulations, Marquis. Congratulations, Marquis. Congratulations, Princess. Congratulations, Princess. I've long said that you two are a match made in heaven. There's no more loving couple in the world than you two." Xiao Ji was very satisfied. "That's more like it." The next second, Steward Lu moved closer to him while tidying his clothes and whispered, "Marquis, blink if you're threatened." Xiao Ji. Dinner was served at Rancho Palace, and the old chancellor also came over. The reason was that 2-year-old Qin Wuyo was enlightened. He was Qin Wuyo's enlightened teacher and would enter the palace to teach Qin Wuyo every day. However, Qin Wuyo was the eldest grandson of the emperor, so he couldn't teach alone. He even picked many peers from the aristocratic families to accompany him. The 3.5-year-old Gu Xiaobao was one of them. Gu Xiaobao lived in Rancho Palace. Every time after class, the old chancellor would personally send Gu Xiaobao over. As usual, he sent Gu Xiaobao to the entrance of Rancho Palace and coincidentally bumped into the emperor who was here for dinner. As Qin Wuyo's study companion and a resident of Jadewater Alley and Rancho Palace, Gu Xiaobao had met the emperor many times. Like a little adult, he respectfully bowed. "Your Majesty." Xiaobao came over. The emperor looked at him amiably. "Did you learn today's lesson?" Gu Xiaobao thought for a while and replied, "No." Actually, he knew everything, but Qin Wuyo didn't. Then he couldn't know either. He was a little shrew since young. The emperor was very happy. It wasn't that his grandson was stupid, but that the things the old chancellor taught were too difficult. "Go in," the emperor said to Gu Xiaobao. Gu Xiaobao went to find his great-aunt. The emperor turned to go in, but the old chancellor suddenly asked despite knowing the answer, "Your Majesty, Rancho Palace is so lively. Did something happen?" The emperor said indifferently, "Marquis Xianping and Xinyang have returned. They are greeting mother inside." The old chancellor stroked his beard. "Ah, so the princess has returned. This humble official should go greet Princess Xinyang. You're not familiar with her, why are you greeting her?" The emperor said, "Isn't it too late? You should go to her residence tomorrow to greet her." The old chancellor said, "Not late, not late." The emperor said, "I'm asking you to leave. Didn't you see?" The old chancellor said, "Aya, this old minister's eyes are blurred. I can't see." Xiao Ji and his son were both there, as well as Chong Jing and Long Yi. It wasn't appropriate to reject the old chancellor with the excuse of being a foreigner. The emperor led the old chancellor into Rancho Palace with a dark face. The old chancellor paid his respects to Princess Xinyang, and then he didn't leave. The emperor was so angry that he sat on the side and shook his legs. Could it be that my beloved minister wants to have dinner in Rancho Palace? The old chancellor cupped his hands. Since your majesty said so, this official can only accept the decree. The dinner was placed in the courtyard. They admired the flowers, the moon, and the scenery of late spring. The children had finished eating long ago and were playing in the garden. Several young palace maids accompanied them, as if they had endless energy. Qin Fenghuan rubbed her sore arms. Just now, she had only hugged Yi and the twins twice, but her waist and back were aching. It's still good to be young. She sighed. The adults had also finished eating, so the servants removed the dining table and replaced it with a tea table. Xiao Ji was peeling an orange for Qin Fenghuan. What's good to be young? Qin Fenghuan thought of the rumors of him taking in a concubine and said sourly, "You men like young girls." Xiao Ji was about to speak when the old chancellor on the other side spoke first. Who said so? He looked at the old chancellor, but the old chancellor didn't look at them. It didn't seem like he was talking to them. He continued peeling the orange. Qin Fenghuan, don't you know how many times I look at you every day? I don't even look at those young girls. Qin Fenghuan touched her face. When I'm older, you won't like to look at me anymore. Xiao Ji removed the tangerine that she didn't like and raised his brows. You're old, but am I not old? Besides, even after 10, 20, or 30 years, you'll still be the most beautiful little old lady in Jiaodu. The old chancellor said, That's right. Xiao Ji turned around and looked at the old chancellor strangely. Qin Fenghuan was far away, and her hearing wasn't as good as Xiao Ji's, so she didn't hear what the old chancellor said. She lowered her eyes and said softly, When I'm very, very old, will you still like to look at me? The old chancellor said, Of course. Xiao Ji frowned. What's wrong with you today? Under the moonlight, Empress Dowager Zhuang was looking at a few playful children while the old chancellor was looking at the quieter. Digression. This is the end of Xinyang and Little Chick Monkey's story. Tomorrow, little Jing Kong will grow up, and this should be the last story of this story. Not everyone had to explain everything, no matter how big or small, and not every character had to be a couple. Some readers want me to write about some passerby, but this is impossible. A story has its logic and also its appreciation. Overdoing it is just as bad as not doing it enough. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/10416870. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website, zhhbqg.com. Chapter 991. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. After leaving the imperial palace, Xiao Hang wanted to give the 3 children to his parents, but when he turned around, his father decisively took his mother to Vermilion Bird Avenue. Xiao Hang didn't even catch a glimpse of their shadows. He looked at the carriage that disappeared into the street and muttered, What are they doing? Gu Jiao made a sound of surprise. Honeymoon. Xiao Heng's mouth twitched. A honeymoon that was 20 years late. He looked at the 3 little kids who were staring at him with wide eyes and instantly felt his life crumble. He first sent Gu Jiao and the 3 children back to the Princess Manor, then set off for Marquis Ding and Manor. Little Jing Kong was a well-rounded child. Not only did he complete his cultural studies, he didn't fall behind in martial arts either. Recently, he was learning martial arts from Gu Chongqing. Even though Gu Chongqing said he would send him back, Xiao Hang still tried his best to pick him up every night. It felt different to have a parent pick him up. Actually, there were many people who taught little Jing Kong martial arts. Shenyuan Qi, Long Yi, Marquis Xianping, Gu Chongqing, Chong Jing, and his master Liao Chen. He learned well from everyone and didn't mix up. He was also gifted. Big brother, goodbye. Sister-in-law, goodbye. Little Jing Kong said goodbye to Gu Chongqing and Yuan Baolin at the entrance of the manor. Xiao Hang also thanked the two and then brought little Jing Kong into the carriage. Little Jing Kong wasn't young anymore. He was 9 years old and was growing faster by the day. He was no longer a little kid who would be completely blocked by the table when he sat down. Bad brother-in-law. He snorted and arrogantly got into the carriage. Xiao Heng, you're not cute the moment you open your mouth. I wonder who you learned this from. Little Jing Kong had long been a tyrant in the Imperial College. He was cold and handsome. He was only childish in front of Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng. The carriage didn't go through Chong and Street, but went in the direction of Black Tortoise Street. What are you doing? Little Jing Kong had a good sense of direction, especially since the Imperial College was on Xuanwu Street. He was very familiar with this area and could tell if the carriage was going in the right direction with his eyes closed. This is not the way back to the princess residence. He looked at his bad brother-in-law suspiciously. Are you going to sell me in the middle of the night? Xiao Heng looked at him with both anger and amusement. Yes, I want to sell you so that you won't raise my rent in the future. Little Jing Kong crossed his arms, raised his chin and snorted. You're still talking about it? You haven't paid your rent this year. It's been 4 months. Xiao Hang flicked his wide sleeves and said indifferently, Didn't you pay off your debt? Little Jing Kong's eyes flashed. Pay off what debt? I fought with someone with a bird and was given a demerit by the Imperial College. My parents were called. I went. I collected protection fees and was given a demerit by the Imperial College twice. My parents were called. I went. I cheated in the exam and was given a demerit by the Imperial College 3 times. I went. Speaking up to this point, Xiao Hang glanced at a certain little fellow and said, Let's agree on it. I'll help you hide it from Jiao Jiao for 500 taels each time. So, you still owe me 300 taels. Little Jing Kong's arrogance fell. He bluffed. You've changed. You would never be bribed by me in the past. Xiao Heng wouldn't be led by the nose. So you're saying that I have to cover for you for free? Fine, I'll tell Jiao Jiao later. Little Jing Kong was furious. No. They bickered. The carriage suddenly stopped. Little Duke, little master, we've arrived, the coachman said. Xiao Heng stood up. Get off. Little Jing Kong followed him and got off the carriage. He looked around and asked in confusion, Huh? It's so late. What are we doing at the Imperial College? I'm taking you to meet someone, Xiao Heng said. He led the way in front, and Xiao Jing Kong followed unwillingly. After entering the Imperial College, Xiao Hang took him directly to the teacher's attic. The teachers had already finished their shift and the attic was dark. There was only one room that seemed to be lit by an oil lamp. The two of them came to the door. The door was open, and a teacher was writing something. Because he was too focused, he did not notice that someone had come. Teacher Sun. Little Jing Kong recognized him. Teacher Sun used to be one of the teachers of the prodigy class. He didn't teach the prodigy class anymore because of some personnel changes. Little Jing Kong rarely saw him. Teacher Sun looked older than a few years ago. He had a few strands of white hair on his head. In fact, he was only in his 40s. Why did you bring me to see Teacher Sun? Little Jing Kong asked in confusion. Xiao Heng looked at him and said, I didn't want to bring you to see Teacher Sunday. Teacher Sun wanted to see you himself. Huh? Little Jing Kong was even more confused. Teacher Sun's eyes were sore. When he raised his hand to rub his eyes, he saw Xiao Hang and Little Jing Kong. He wasn't surprised. Instead, he felt relieved. He smiled and said, Come in. The two entered the room. Little Jing Kong found that there were a lot of papers on his desk. The papers were filled with all kinds of strange formulas. He had learned a little and knew that these were the mathematics of Jiao Jiao's previous life. A lot of mathematical knowledge was recorded in one of the national books of the Yen Kingdom. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Teacher Sun," Xiaoheng said. "It's okay." Teacher Sun hurriedly waved his hand and said, "It's my honor that you agreed to come." Who would have thought that the little cripple whom he looked down upon in the past would become the Grand Secretary of the Imperial Court? He was blind and didn't recognize that he was the young Duke of Zhaodu who died in the fire. However, his achievements today had nothing to do with his identity. It was because he was truly talented and full of wisdom. Teacher Sun didn't beat around the bush. He directly bowed to Little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong was shocked. "What's going on? Teacher, you suddenly bowed to me. I'm very nervous." After Teacher Sun bowed, he smiled and said sincerely, "The ancestral rate that you read out was correct. I was too arbitrary and wronged you." This was when Little Jing Kong just entered the Imperial College. Teacher Sun taught a math problem to the children of the prodigy class and expanded it to the ancestral rate. The ancestral rate passed down by the ancestors was only up to 7 digits, which was recorded in the Xuanjing 10 books. Little Jing Kong read out 17 or 18 digits in one breath. Teacher Sun said that Little Jing Kong was talking nonsense and disturbing the class. Little Jing Kong, on the other hand, suspected that Teacher Sun was misleading his students. He even threw 10 arithmetic problems that Gu Jiao had taught him in one go, successfully stumping Teacher Sunday. Teacher Sun was not convinced and gave him 10 math problems. He answered half of them. He even said some infuriating words. "What's so strange about me not being able to answer the remaining questions? I'm a student. I came here to study because I don't know how to do it. If I know how to do it, why do I need a teacher?" Teacher Sun was so angry that he hit his palm with a ruler. However, Little Jing Kong dodged quickly. He didn't hit Teacher Sun but fell down himself. The whole class burst into laughter. The students of the other 4 classes also came to watch. Teacher Sun was so embarrassed that he cried on the spot. After that, Xiaoheng took Little Jing Kong to apologize to Teacher Sunday. As a student, he shouldn't disrespect the teacher and disturb the class. But at the same time, Xiaoheng also made a request to Teacher Sun. "As for the ancestral rate, I will try my best to verify it. If Jing Kong is correct, then I hope Teacher Sun can also apologize to Jing Kong because you wronged him." Little Jing Kong thought that Shi Yi was touched by his bad brother-in-law. But after that, his bad brother-in-law didn't mention it again. Little Jing Kong gradually felt that it was not a big deal and forgot about it. Xiaoheng found the formula for calculating the ancestral rate in the national letter of the Yen Kingdom. After he learned it, he taught it to Teacher Sunday. Teacher Sun had calculated it 3 days ago. It was raining outside when they came out of the attic. Bean-sized raindrops hit the eaves. The rain came so suddenly that no one expected it. The coachman was waiting outside the attic with an umbrella. There were only 2 umbrellas. Xiaoheng gave one to the coachman and the other to Little Jing Kong. The rain was heavy and rapid. Small streams of water meandered through the low-lying areas. Xiaoheng squatted down in front of Little Jing Kong. "Come up." Little Jing Kong muttered, "I can walk by myself." "Hurry up," Xiaoheng urged. Little Jing Kong slowly climbed onto his bad brother-in-law's back and opened the umbrella to block the pouring rain. Xiaoheng stepped in the puddles. His clothes and shoes were soaked. The rain in late spring was cold, as if it was the last resistance to summer. Little Jing Kong lay on Xiaoheng's broad and warm back. He couldn't help but feel his breath. He thought of what had happened today and muttered softly, "Why do you still remember? Who wants his apology?" Xiaoheng said, "Then should I ask Teacher Sun to take it back?" Little Jing Kong, "No." Xiaoheng laughed. "Forget it. I'll give you a free rent this year. Remember to pay back the 300 taels you owe me." Bad brother-in-law. After the new year, Little Jing Kong was 9 years old. He deserved to be called a child prodigy. There was a huge gap between him and the children who just started school. Xiao Hang and the old chancellor had to give him special treatment from time to time. He wanted to take the imperial examination. Xiao Hang had no objection. Gu Jiao also agreed. He passed the examination and successfully passed the imperial examination. A 9-year-old imperial examination was quite rare. He was quite happy. He took the imperial examination to show off to his bad brother-in-law. In the end, he learned that his bad brother-in-law passed the imperial examination at the age of 8. He didn't feel good at all. How could his bad brother-in-law pass the imperial examination earlier than him? When did my bad brother-in-law pass the imperial examination? He asked the servant in the residence. The servant said, when he was 10 years old. Originally, Little Duke could pass the imperial examination after passing the imperial examination. However, the princess said that it wasn't too early. She delayed it for 2 years before letting Little Duke take the examination. He passed the imperial examination at that time. He wanted to be a 9-year-old imperial examination. He was better than his bad brother-in-law. In the previous dynasty, the imperial examination was held twice every 3 years. In this dynasty, in order to select more talents, it was changed to once a year. This year's imperial examination hadn't arrived yet. Little Jing Kong signed up with high expectations. He was full of confidence in the examination. The old chancellor and Xiao Hang also thought that it wouldn't be a big problem. However, no one expected that he, who had always been lucky, would go against the flow on the day of the examination. Little Eight's son chewed up his examination permit. That's right. Little Eight, who was brought to the capital by Gu Yen from the farmstead, grew up and became a father with 2 puppies. Little Jing Kong broke down and cried loudly. Shi Sui didn't pass the imperial examination too late. He could tie with his bad brother-in-law. However, he went against the flow again. He broke his hand on the day before the examination. Although 11 years old was a year late, it wasn't too much. This time, he finally entered the examination hall successfully. After finishing the examination, he caught fire. He looked up to the sky and roared, "Bad brother-in-law, did you pass your bad luck to me?" He stopped taking the imperial examination when he was 12 years old. When the dispute between the 6 states arose again, he joined the army. Digression. Squatting for a guaranteed monthly ticket. Moi, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/826/1041533672. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 992. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are available here. Yen country ushered in another cruel winter. The biting cold snow almost didn't stop since the winter. The battle at Simapo had been going on for 2 months. Due to the snow blocking the road, the imperial court supplies couldn't be delivered. The soldiers at the border had been hungry for several days. They could only dig grass roots and gnaw on tree bark to satisfy their hunger. Otherwise, they would eat the corpses of horses. In the commander's tent, several generals and commanders gathered. No one spoke. The atmosphere was very solemn. About a year ago, a rebel army suddenly rose up in the southwest region of the Yen Kingdom to fight against the Empress. They spread rumors everywhere, claiming that the Empress's throne was obtained through improper means. The retired emperor originally didn't intend to pass the throne to her. It was she who forced her biological father to step down from the throne and put him under house arrest in the harem. Only then did she ascend the throne. She wasn't really destined to be. Moreover, her methods were too cruel and fierce. Compared to the previous tyrant, she was even worse. She killed the loyal and good and preyed on the common people. If the emperor is not benevolent, the country will not be a country. The above were the words of the rebel army. Some were true and some were false. It was true that Shangguan Yen forced the emperor to abdicate the throne. It was also true that she put him under house arrest. However, she didn't tyrannize, nor did she kill the loyal and good and the common people. As for whether she was destined to be or not, it depended on the benevolence and the wisdom of the wise. The sky was high and the empress was far away. The people in the southwest didn't know what kind of person Shangguan Yen was. The rebel army wantonly spread rumors of Shangguan Yan's atrocities. The common people began to question Shangguan Yan's character as the country's ruler. The time of the rebel army's rise was very sensitive. On the surface, the 6 countries maintained peace, but in secret, they had long been competing with each other. The situation at the border was tense. The imperial court advanced a large number of troops to the border. In contrast, the rebel army didn't attract much attention from the imperial court. However, this was where the problem lay. Simopo belonged to Congzhou. Guamang, as the commander of Congzhou, received the imperial court's order to immediately lead 10,000 troops to Simopo to clean up the rebel army. Like the imperial court, he initially thought that the rebel army was just a few stragglers. It was only when the battle began that they discovered that the enemy's military strength far exceeded that of Congzhou's regular army. No one knew where these troops came from. They were like weeds that grew all over the Sima slope overnight. Guamang was an experienced general. He thought that the advantage in numbers didn't mean anything. After all, they were a regular army. The soldiers had the strongest physique and quality. The barracks were also equipped with the most powerful supplies and weapons. It was only a matter of time before they won. It was only when they started fighting that Guamang realized something was off. These rebels are really good at fighting. Moreover, their equipment and armor were as hard as those of the regular army. Both sides fought and Guamang suffered defeat after defeat. Not only did he fail to take down the rebel army's base, but he also lost a city. This city did not have a city wall, and the nearby Sima slope was a strategic location that could be attacked and defended. Guamang changed his previous aggressive fighting style and adopted a roundabout strategy. Originally, he wanted to stall for time while waiting for reinforcements from the neighboring Yunzhou to arrive. Unfortunately, the snow had sealed off the mountain. Not to mention reinforcements, they couldn't even transport rations over. The soldiers were cold and hungry, and the wounded soldiers couldn't get medical treatment. The morale of the army was at an all-time low. Guamang called his deputies over today to discuss the next step of the plan. The soldiers can't hold on any longer. This was Guamang's first sentence. No one in the tent could refute it. This time, they had been careless and underestimated the enemy. They didn't expect the Congzhou rebel army to be so difficult to deal with. Misfortune never comes alone. The snow had sealed off the mountain, making it impossible for rations and reinforcements to arrive. Did the heavens want them dead? I have a plan here, Guamang said seriously. Everyone was not in the mood. They had suffered too many defeats and their confidence had long been shattered. Guamang understood what everyone was thinking. In fact, he was the one who had collapsed the most. As the main general of this battle, he couldn't escape the blame. The others could say that they were following orders and that they had to fight however the higher-ups wanted them to. But could Guamang comfort himself like that? Obviously not. He spent a great deal of effort to stabilize his emotions that were on the verge of collapse. He licked his cracked and bleeding lips and said, "The enemy's military strength is more than twice our military strength. In addition, they have sufficient rations and combat power. We can't attack them directly." There was silence in the tent, as if no one was listening to his words. Guamang looked at the falling snow outside the tent and continued, We will attack the rebel camp at night and capture or take Zhou Chongyue's head. Zhou Chongyue, the rebel army's leader. It was said that this person was born with superhuman strength, great martial arts, courage, and wisdom. He was the one who had used less than a year to expand a weak rebel army into a force of 20,000 soldiers. Taking his head was easier said than done. Fortunately, spies had sent news not long ago that Zhou Chongyue had accidentally fallen off his horse during training. He was trampled by the horse's hooves and was heavily injured. This was a good opportunity for them to severely injure Zhou Chongyue. Guomang looked at everyone solemnly and said, "I know this mission is difficult, but this is our only way out. Zhou Chongyue is injured. If we don't kill him now, we won't have another chance. Once he recovers and leads his troops to attack us, we won't be able to resist. No, we don't have to wait until that day. All of us will starve to death and freeze to death here. Since we're going to die anyway, why not die on the battlefield? Killing one is worth it. Killing two is worth it. At least we won't be ashamed to face our ancestors when we reach the netherworld. We didn't waste our time in this world." These words didn't mean much to ordinary people, but in the hearts of every loyal soldier, it ignited their last shred of fighting spirit. They weren't afraid of death. What they were afraid of was not being able to die a worthy death. The snow was getting heavier. It was the perfect weather for a sneak attack. The rebel army probably wouldn't have dreamed that the Congzhou army, who were already starving, would dare to attack them on such a snowy night. This was simply suicidal. Guomang calmly selected the 100 most powerful soldiers. Everyone didn't eat dinner and gave the last of the grass and horse meat to these 100 warriors. In tonight's battle, they would either win or die trying. After filling their stomachs a little, Guomang personally led 100 soldiers to attack. Before leaving, he appointed Deputy General Lin as the reserve commander. If he didn't return, Deputy General Lin would continue to lead everyone into battle. The group of people rode their horses into the night, braving the goose feather-like snow. They took a long detour through the east side of the forest, past the frozen lake, and all the way to the right wing of the rebel camp. Everything went smoothly. The horses were left in the forest, and Guomang led the group to sneak into the enemy camp. But at this moment, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a large number of archers appeared from all around. They drew their bows and surrounded them. Guomang's expression changed. Soon after, a wild laughter came from behind. The archers automatically opened up a path for a man in his 30s. He wore armor, had a tall and sturdy body, and had a full beard. He strode toward Guomang. He stopped about 10 steps away from Guomang. Guomang took a closer look and was instantly dumbfounded. "Zhou Chongyue. Not good, we've fallen into a trap." Zhou Chongyue wasn't injured at all. He purposely released false information to lure Guomang to attack. Although the rebel army had a large number of soldiers and provisions, and had a good chance of winning, Guomang wasn't someone to be trifled with. He was good at defense. Otherwise, Zhou Chongyue would have killed them all. Zhou Chongyue laughed. "General Guo, it wasn't easy to lure you here. Don't worry, let me finish. I admire General Guo very much. If General Guo is willing to surrender to me, I promise you that not only will I not kill you, but I will also protect your subordinates. The main road is blocked by snow. You must have been hungry for many days, right? What a coincidence. I have good wine and dishes to entertain General Guo and everyone." He finished speaking and clapped his hands. Behind the archers, a row of garrison cooks came over carrying braziers and roasted whole lambs. The aroma of the lamb mixed with the crispness of the sesame seeds made the already hungry Congzhou soldiers drool. Guomang also swallowed his saliva. Zhou Chongyue smiled and made a gesture of invitation. "General Guo, don't be so polite." Guomang looked at the sizzling roasted lamb. His eyes glowed green. He drooled and walked toward the roasted lamb in a daze. Zhou Chongyue smiled with satisfaction. But just as he brushed past Zhou Chongyue, Guomang suddenly thrust his sword at Zhou Chongyue. Zhou Chongyue's face changed color. Luckily, he reacted quickly and grabbed Guomang's wrist in time. Guamang was too hungry and couldn't use his full strength. Otherwise, his sword would have succeeded. General Gua, it seems like you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Zhou Chongyue smiled coldly and kicked Guamang in the chest. Guamang fell to the ground with his sword. The rest of the Zhongzhou soldiers saw this and came back to their senses. They drew their swords and rushed toward Zhou Chongyue. A row of archers stood in front of Zhou Chongyue and surrounded Guamang's group with the remaining archers. Zhou Chongyue said coldly, "Kill. Don't leave a single one alive." The archers released their arrows and the Zhongzhou soldiers fell one by one. Soon, the snow was dyed red with blood. Guamang looked at the soldiers lying in a pool of blood. His eyes reddened and he gripped his sword tightly. "Zhou Chongyue, I will kill you." Zhou Chongyue snorted disdainfully. "Ha, with just you?" He grabbed Guamang's neck and lifted him up high. Guamang's martial arts were not bad, but he was someone who had been hungry for 3 days. How could he be Zhou Chongyue's opponent? Just as Zhou Chongyue was about to break his neck, a sharp eagle's cry came from the vast sky. It carried a terrifying, murderous aura. Even the snow in the sky seemed to freeze for a second. Zhou Chongyue frowned. In the next second, a ferocious eagle spread its snow-covered wings and swooped down. "Ah!" A mournful scream came from the crowd. It seemed that someone's eyeball had been pecked out by the eagle. Zhou Chongyue turned his head to look at the archer who was covering his right eye and rolling on the ground. Furrowing his brows, he threw away Guamang in his hand and went forward to grab an archer's bow and arrow. Pulling the bowstring, he aimed at the eagle. However, before the arrow in his hand could be released, a murderous red tasseled spear came through the air and pierced Zhou Chongyue's shoulder. Zhou Chongyue was caught off guard and was thrown to the ground by the terrifying force. He opened his eyes wide in disbelief. Amidst the swirling snow, a young man clad in silver armor rode a warhorse similarly clad in silver armor, treading through the snow. Despite his young and tender age, he had a pair of resolute and cold eyes. Thousands of soldiers and horses could not stop him. He pulled on the reins as if he was in a no-man's land. The red cape on his silver armor fluttered behind him. Arrows covered the sky and shot toward him, but there was no fear in his eyes. Zhou Chongyue looked at the wolf youth who was exuding endless bloodthirst. He frowned unconsciously. He thought that the person who attacked him was a powerful expert, but it turned out that it was a child. How old was he? Was he 13? How could he hurt him? He must have been careless and let him get away with it. He did not care if he was a child. If he hurt him, he had to pay the price. He wanted to twist his head off. Zhou Chongyue gritted his teeth and pulled out the red tasseled spear on his shoulder. What shocked him was that this spear was much heavier than any of the red tasseled spears he had ever held. He could not help but wonder what kind of spear it was. He turned his head to look. Damn! It was so ugly. Zhou Chongyue was shocked by the ugly red tasseled spear with red flowers and red braids. In that instant, the young man had urged his horse to break through the archer's encirclement and came in front of him. The young man swung his whip and rolled the red tasseled spear back. Then, the young man's warhorse raised its hooves and stepped on Zhou Chongyue who was about to attack. Zhou Chongyue immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The young man held the red tasseled spear and coldly pressed it against his forehead. Zhou Chongyue looked at the cold glint of the spear in front of him and his body stiffened. He could not believe that he, who had never been defeated before, could not fight back in the hands of the young man. He raised his head to look at the cold and inexperienced youth on the horse's back. The youth had a face that could topple cities. But his gaze was cold and full of killing intent. He asked in a trembling voice, Who are you?" The young man said word by word, "Black Wind Rider, Shenyuan Shi." Digression: Shenyuan Shi is a name in Jing Kong. Do you remember? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428826/1041333719. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 993. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Zhou Chongyue was stunned. This child was actually from the Shenyuan family. Then it wasn't strange that he lost to him. No, it was still strange. Firstly, this child was too young. He looked like he was only 12 or 13 years old. Secondly, he had never heard of such a powerful young general from the Shenyuan family. There was a reason for this. He had always been in Zhao country and had only entered the Black Wind camp this year. Although he was a direct descendant of the Shenyuan family, Shenyuan Qi didn't give him any special treatment. He started from the lowest cavalry. He was assigned to Li Shan's command and had always listened to Li Shan's orders to charge and break through enemy lines. This was the first time he had received command and led troops to Cangzhou to provide support. Therefore, it wasn't strange that Zhou Chongyue had never heard of him. In fact, it wasn't just Zhou Chongyue, even Guomang and the others were stunned. Shenyuan Qi was so strict with his child that it made one's hair stand on end. In order to prevent people from secretly taking care of him, he didn't even allow him to use his real name. He was still called Jing Kong in the army camp. Today, in order to intimidate this group of bastards, he revealed his identity. The effect was very good. Zhou Chongyue was stunned. The remaining 5,000 rebels were also stunned. For a moment, no one dared to charge forward. Zhou Chongyue dared to rebel because he had a strong heart. He quickly forced himself to recover from the shock. He looked at the young man who held him hostage with his red, tasseled spear. He clenched his teeth and said, "You're lying. I've never heard of such a person in the Shenyuan family. You think I'll be afraid of you just because you're pretending to be from the Shenyuan family?" His words were sonorous and powerful. They were not only for himself, but also to reinvigorate the morale of his troops. As expected, when the rebels heard this, they gradually looked suspiciously at the silver-armored young man on the horse. Zhou Chongyue struck while the iron was hot and said coldly, "The Shenyuan family was destroyed many years ago. Only Marshal Shenyuan Qi and his son Shenyuan Zhang survived. Where did you come from, brat?" Actually, he had heard that the eldest son of the Shenyuan family had a child. However, the child rarely showed himself. There were many rumors about the child, especially in the Tsong prefecture. The child itself was a rumor. At this time, if he tried to defend himself, regardless of whether it was true or false, he would become the passive party. Guomang looked worriedly at the silver-armored youth on horseback, worried that he would fall for Zhou Chongyue's provocation. However, the young man was not led by the nose by Zhou Chongshan. He looked coldly at his defeated opponent and said arrogantly, "I'll give you 2 choices. 1. Surrender. 2. Die. I'll count to 3. If you don't answer me, I'll take it that you've chosen the second option. 1. 2. Just as he was about to count to 3, Zhou Chongyue grabbed a handful of snow from the ground and threw it at Shenyuan Qi. Almost at the same time, the expert hiding behind Shenyuan Qi leaped into the air, his hands clenching his scimitar as he launched a sneak attack on Shenyuan Qi. Be careful. Guomang was facing Shenyuan Qi and saw the sneak attack from Shenyuan Qi's back clearly. However, he was too far away and injured to block it in time. The corners of Shenyuan Qi's lips curled up slightly. Hair. Insignificant skill. His spear was like a dragon, spinning above his head. Without turning his head, he coldly pierced the expert's heart. As for the snow that Zhou Chongyue had thrown, it was blown away by the warhorse under the young man before it could reach half of the ground. Zhou Chongyue's body trembled. F***ck. This horse can blow snow. 3. Shen Yuan, she finished counting. He looked calmly at the stunned Zhou Chongyue. Looks like you've chosen the second option. No. I didn't even have time to say. The long spear gleaming with cold light fell, and the head of the rebel leader rolled to the feet of an archer. The archer was paralyzed with fear. Everyone shuddered. Reporting for General Zhou, someone in the crowd shouted. Unfortunately, before he could finish, a bugle horn sounded not far away, and countless horses galloped over. One of the cavalrymen rushed at the front, carrying a flying eagle banner on his shoulder that fluttered in the wind and snow. That was the Shen Yuan family's commander's flag. The Shen Yuan family's cavalry had really come. The young man who killed Zhou Chongyue was not lying. He was from the Shen Yuan family. With the death of their leader and the arrival of imperial reinforcements, the rebel army's morale had plummeted. It was hard to remember who was the first to escape. In short, before the Shen Yuan family's cavalry flattened the mountain, all the rebels had fled. Guomang let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness the Black Wind cavalry had arrived just in time. Just as he was about to witness the Black Wind cavalry's heroism, he saw a familiar face. The one carrying the commander's flag. Yes, I'm talking about you. Aren't you Dan? Dan was one of Guomang's lieutenants. His surname was Zhang Minghuan, and Dan was his nickname. Guomang rubbed his eyes, thinking that he was seeing things. At this time, all the riders who had been shouting to charge and break through the enemy's lines had charged forward. However, he was completely dumbfounded. How were these the Black Wind cavalry of the Shen Yuan family? They were the remnants of the soldiers he had left in the camp. He turned to look at Shen Yuan Shi in a daze. My lord, what's going on? He did not know Shen Yuan Shi's official position, but judging from his majestic appearance, it should be above his own. Shen Yuan Shi wiped his red tasseled spear with a handkerchief and said calmly, "Oh, I borrowed your men." "Where are your men?" Guomang asked. "Just me," Shen Yuan Shi said. Guomang staggered and almost fell. What do you mean just you? The imperial court only sent you as reinforcements?" "No, they sent quite a few, but they were all blocked by the snow. Only he and little Shi had rushed over." Guomang swallowed and mustered up his courage to ask, "May I ask how many reinforcements the imperial court sent?" 200, Shen Yuan Shi said. Guomang was dumbfounded. Only 200? That's not enough. It'll take at least 10 or 20,000. Shen Yuan Shi put away his red tasseled spear and looked at him strangely. "Why do you need 10 or 20,000 soldiers to escort the supplies?" Guomang was deeply shocked. "You are actually just an escort for the supplies?" Did the rebel army know that they were being played by a small group of cavalrymen transporting supplies? "May I ask from whom did you learn this skill of bluffing?" Guomang suddenly thought of an important question. "Don't tell me your identity as a member of the Shen Yuan family is also—" "My identity is real," Shen Yuan Shi said. "I am indeed a member of the Shen Yuan family." After he finished speaking, he turned to look at the remaining soldiers who were waiting for orders and frowned. "What are you still standing there for? Take it." Guomang was speechless. Under Shen Yuan Shi's leadership, the remaining soldiers of Tsong province plundered the rebel army's camp clean, leaving not a single grain of rice or thread behind. That night, the Tsong province army, who had been starving for many days, finally had a full meal. Although Zhou Chongyue was dead, his son was still alive, and so were the 20,000 soldiers of the rebel army. The weather was still bad, and the reinforcements from Yunzhou could not arrive. The Tsong province army only had 3,000 soldiers left, but only 2,000 could fight. Guomang's suggestion was to defend. "We've taken some supplies. We can defend until the Yunzhou army arrives." Shen Yuan Shi did not agree with this idea. First, they did not know how long the weather would last, and the supplies would run out one day. Second, there were too many injured soldiers. They had to quickly take back the city and let the injured soldiers in for treatment. He said seriously, for a hot-blooded soldier, the saddest thing is not dying on the battlefield, but dying of illness in the barracks. Guomang was stunned. He did not expect a 12 or 13-year-old boy to say something like this. Had he also experienced death and pain? Otherwise, why would he have such feelings? He would rather die in battle than die of illness. In the end, Guomang agreed to Shen Yuanxi's plan. 3 days later, Shen Yuanxi led 2,000 soldiers of Tsong province to attack the rebel army's right wing. The rebel army had never seen the real Black Wind cavalry, but Shen Yuanxi's reputation had already spread. Coupled with the Shen Yuan family's flag, all of the rebel army thought that the ones attacking them were the Shen Yuan cavalry. The rebel army's morale was low, and Shen Yuanxi led the Tsong province army to attack the main commander's camp, scattering the 20,000 soldiers. Shen Yuanxi first caught the least number of soldiers and chased after them. The rebel army had no power to fight back. 2 hours later, Shen Yuanxi beheaded Zhou Chenghue's youngest son, Zhou Fengdong. 3 days later, Shen Yuanxi captured Zhou Chenghue's third son, Zhou Fengqiu. On the 7th day, Shen Yuanxi seriously injured Zhou Chenghue's second son, Zhou Fengxia. That night, Zhou Chenghue's eldest son, Zhou Fengchun, surrendered. In just 7 days, 2,000 soldiers defeated Zhou Chenghue's 20,000 rebel army, ending a year of civil strife in the southwest. Shen Yuanxi could be said to have become famous in one battle. When Shangguan Yan received the news of victory from the southwest, he was overjoyed. Without waiting for Shen Yuanxi to return to court, he directly issued an imperial edict to the whole world, conferring Shen Yuanxi as the first marquis champion in the history of Yan Kingdom. A 13-year-old marquis, within the 6 countries, there was no one like him. Digression. The next chapter is going back to see Jiao Jiao. Guess if Jiao Jiao and Ahang had a second child? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1041140303. HTML Genius remembered this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 994. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are available here. For the time being, Shen Yuanxi did not know that he had been conferred the title of Marquis Champion. The civil strife in the southwest had been quelled, and he was preparing to return. Before leaving, he arrived at Sima Slope. Riding Little Shi, he stood on a high slope and gazed into the vast expanse of whiteness in the distance. Guomang urged his horse to follow beside him. Seeing that he did not speak for a long time, Guomang felt sure Yi could not figure out what he was thinking. After these days of contact, Guomang had a whole new level of respect for this youth who was even younger than his own son. He had the frivolity and hot-bloodedness of a youth, but not the impulsiveness and naivety of a youth. He was brave and resourceful, and his temperament was steady. Guomang often sighed with emotion. This youth seemed to be born for the battlefield. The cold wind whistled, and Guomang felt a trace of coldness. He looked at the youth with cracked lips and firm eyes, and finally opened his mouth to ask, "Sir, what are you looking at?" "Shen Yuanxi said, the mountains and rivers of the Yan Kingdom." Guomang thought for a moment, then asked, "Then, what do you see?" Shen Yuanxi said indifferently, "The Liang Kingdom is asking for a beating." Guomang did not understand. How did the Liang kingdom suddenly get involved? The topic had gone off the rails a bit too quickly. Shen Yuan Shi was not stingy with his answer. Where did the rebel army's armor and weapons come from? Where did the money to raise the army come from? Zhou Chongyue is only a martial artist. How could he have such great ability? Guamang's expression changed. You mean, the Liang kingdom is behind the chaos in the southwest? A withered leaf flew over and gently landed in Shen Yuan Shi's palm. Shen Yuan Shi clenched his fist, his eyes cold. The Liang kingdom. He released his hand, and the withered leaf turned into fine powder, which was blown away by the wind into the snow. The chaos in the southwest had come to an end, and Shen Yuan Shi set out to return to the capital. The road is still closed. Would you like to return a few days later? Guamang tried to persuade him. No need. He had to rush back to spend the new year with Jiao Jiao. He nimbly mounted his horse. His silver armor and red cape fluttered in the wind behind him. He looked valiant and very handsome. Guamang was stunned. This child was simply too good-looking. Of course, when it came to killing the enemy, they were not merciful at all. It was hard to imagine that such a handsome young man was the little killing god who had struck fear into the hearts of all the rebels on the battlefield a few days ago. Goodbye, General Gua. The young man patted the warhorse's neck and said with a smile, There are only 13 days left. Little Shi, I'm counting on you. The adult horse king raised its front hooves and tightened its muscles. It cracked open its mouth as if it was laughing wildly. I'm coming. All the horses in the barracks were knocked over by him. Like an arrow leaving the bow, it rushed into the endless wind and snow. A man, an eagle, and a horse braved the biting cold wind and snow. They crossed mountains, cities, and forests in this extremely cold world. Finally, they arrived at Chengdu on New Year's Eve. The snow in Chengdu was also very heavy, but there was no wind today. The goose feather-like snow fell quietly. There were no pedestrians on the street, and the shops were closed. The whole street could only hear the rapid sound of horse hooves and the loud cry of the eagle hovering high in the sky. Shen Yuan Shi had not seen Jiao Jiao for a year. He missed her so much that his heart ached. He could not wait to return to her side. Little Shi. He pulled the reins tightly. The horse king and the young man on the horse grew up together. They had a tacit understanding and increased the speed of the horse. The horse king actually wanted to go back earlier. Human cubs were good, but it was troublesome to walk them. This time, it had slipped away for a year. It really did not want to slip away again. It wanted to go back to Jiao Jiao. This year, Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang took the children to celebrate the new year in the Yan kingdom. First, they wanted to visit Duke An and Shangguan Yan. Second, the situation in the Yan kingdom was tense. Shen Yuan Shi had been guarding the border for 2 years and had not returned to the capital. Gu Jiao may go to the battlefield. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law strolled in the imperial garden wrapped in silver. From time to time, the children's laughter could be heard from behind the flowers in front of them. They were innocent and carefree. Shangguan Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of tenderness. The longer she was the emperor, the stronger her fierce aura was. The palace servants rarely saw her soft side. Shangguan Yan said with emotion, Jing Kong has made a great contribution to the civil strife in the southwest. Do you know that he asked to go to the southwest? He said that if he did not go, you would go. Gu Jiao's expression froze. Shangguan Yan sighed. He said that you don't need to fight anymore in the future. He will fight all the battles. He told me and the Grand Marshal not to tell you any military information. It's enough to tell him. He will definitely win, he promises. Gu Jiao's heart seemed to be hit hard by something. She suddenly remembered what Jing Kong said to her when he first came to her home. Jiao Jiao, you are very powerful. I also want to be very powerful. More powerful than Jiao Jiao. Then Jiao Jiao won't need to be powerful. She was puzzled. The 3-year-old little Jing Kong looked up. His clear eyes without a trace of impurities looked into her eyes. Jiao Jiao must be very hard, right? Master said that powerful people have suffered a lot and will continue to suffer a lot in the future. Because powerful people are destined to go up the mountain. Going up the mountain is very hard. Going down the mountain is more comfortable. Jiao Jiao, wait for me to grow up. When I grow up, I will carry you up the mountain. If powerful people have to go up the mountain, then he will carry Jiao Jiao up the mountain. Jiao Jiao doesn't need to walk. Jiao Jiao's hardships, he will bear them. At that time, Gu Jiao didn't quite understand what a 3-year-old squishy ball meant by going up and down the mountain. She only gradually understood later. She also finally understood why he suddenly joined the army when he was 12 years old. He gave up the civil service and joined the military, not because he was unlucky and lost confidence in the imperial examination, but because he wanted to go to war for her. To establish a heart for heaven and earth, to establish a life for the people, to inherit the lost knowledge of the past, and to create peace for all ages. She didn't have time to teach him these. His mind was very simple. He just wanted to give her a golden age of peace. He didn't tell me when he left. She whispered. If he had told you, you wouldn't have let him go. Shangguan Yen said, looked at Gu Jiao, and said, the war in the southwest is over. Jing Kong will come back soon. He will be very happy to see you. Gu Jiao nodded. She missed Jing Kong. She missed him very much. In addition, Shangguan Yen paused, the situation of the 6 countries may change again. Since the last war against Jin, the 6 countries had been at peace for several years. But not long ago, this delicate balance was broken. Shangguan Yen proposed to build a water transportation system for the 6 countries, but it was opposed by all the countries. The reasons were strange. They didn't want to destroy the geomancy of their country, or they didn't want to waste money. However, the reason was actually because of an island called Baoshan. Baoshan Island was located in Jin, the territory of Jin. When Jin was defeated, they ceded a lot of cities to seek peace, including Baoshan Island. However, Baoshan Island was a deserted island. No one took a fancy to it, so Yen Kingdom took it. Who would have thought that the people who reclaimed the island would find a gold mine on the island? The other countries were unbalanced. They all thought that Yen Kingdom deliberately concealed the mineral vein, making everyone mistakenly think that it was a deserted island. Now, all the countries wanted a share of the pie. But this was impossible. Shangguan Yen would never give in. However, this was not the only reason for the tension in the 6 countries. There was another major reason, the Turks. The Turks had changed. The Turks were originally separated from Jin. There were a total of 13 tribes. Over the years, the major tribes were in their own way, and there were constant disputes. It was not that no one tried to unify the 13 tribes, but no one had the means. But just 3 years ago, the weakest Turk tribe suddenly rose and annexed the other tribes one by one. In less than 3 years, they ruled the 13 tribes that had been separated for hundreds of years. 2 months ago, the Turkic Khaganate established their country and named it Wei. Whether the 6 countries recognized it or not, it was a country that started a new era. The Wei king did not claim the title of emperor for the time being, but only a king. He probably wants to wait for the envoys of the 6 countries to arrive there and witness his enthronement ceremony before officially ruling the world. Shangguan Yen said and took out an edict from her wide sleeve. This is a letter written by the king of Wei, inviting the royal family of each country to attend his enthronement ceremony. Gu Jiao took it. She couldn't understand Jin's language, so she asked, "Is mother going?" Shangguan Yen said, "Qing said he wants to go, but I'm always a little worried, so I hope to find someone to accompany him. Let's see if it's you or uncle." Gu Jiao nodded. This was not a big problem. She could go, and Shenyuan Qi could also go. In addition, I want to remind you of one thing. Shangguan Yen said. "What's the matter?" Gu Jiao asked. Shangguan Yen frowned and said, "Rumor has it that the reason why the king of Wei can go from being the son of the weakest tribe leader to today is because he has a resourceful prime minister under him." Gu Jiao subconsciously asked, "What's his surname?" Shangguan Yen said, "Lu." Digression. Today is also the day I want to get monthly votes, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1041085886. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com BQ mobile version reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 995. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Lu, what? Gu Jiao asked. Shangguan Yen shook her head. I don't know much about the Wei country's prime minister. I only know that his surname is Lu and he comes from a poor background. He came across the Wei country's prince by chance. Perhaps because they were in the same boat, they felt like old friends at first sight. Since then, he has been working under the Wei country's prince. From an inconspicuous little strategist, he slowly became the Wei country's most powerful think tank. Gu Jiao's attention was on the poor background and the poor background of the Wei country. The Wei country, she murmured thoughtfully. Could it be him? While she was thinking, the 5-year-old Xiao Yan ran over with her little brother, bold, sweating. The twins were very delicate. They were white and tender. When they smiled, they had a pair of small dimples. They were very cute. Xiao Yan raised her chubby little face and said with a smile, Imperial Grandmother Mother, Tsong wants to play sleigh. The quiet little handsome boy Xiao Tsong's face darkened. You want to play? Who likes that kind of childish thing? Go play, Gu Jiao said. Xiao Yan happily pulled Xiao Tsong away. Xiao Tsong, who was just a tool from beginning to end. The Yen country's imperial palace was very big. In order to let the two little guys play to their heart's content, Shangguan Yen didn't hesitate to tear down a garden and 2 palaces to make a super big ski resort near the imperial garden. The palace servant brought the light shui sleigh made by Xiao Hang himself. Xiao Yan twisted her little butt and couldn't wait to sit on it. What are you doing? Come on, little brother. She especially liked to call Xiao Tsong little brother. But in fact, Xiao Tsong never thought of himself as a little brother. Originally, he should have been the first to come out, but this girl kicked him aside and snatched the first place from him. So he was actually the older brother. Xiao Yan spread her hands and raised her eyebrows. Are you afraid? Xiao Tsong sat on it expressionlessly. The first place was taken by Xiao Yan. He sat behind Xiao Yan. He quietly pinched the corner of Xiao Yan's clothes. Xiao Yan tightened her grip on the reins and said proudly, Don't tell me you secretly pinched my clothes again? Xiao Tsong's expression froze, but his tone remained the same. I'm afraid that you'll fall. Xiao Yan patted her chest and said crisply, It's okay to be afraid. You're the younger brother. Big sister will protect you. Xiao Tsong, don't imitate your uncle. Xiao Yan smiled mischievously. Sit tight. Wasn't it just a sleigh pulled by a few palace servants? It wasn't that fast either. Did they think that they couldn't sit properly? Just as Xiao Tsong finished muttering to himself, he saw a black horse galloping over at lightning speed. It picked up the rope of the sled and galloped off. Xiao Tsong's face turned pale. Why was it little Shi? He didn't have time to jump off the sled or call for help. Little Shi was running too fast. As soon as he opened his mouth, he was blown into a little sad frog. Little Shi ran 3 laps before stopping. The twins' hair was blown into a chamate style. Xiao Yan was so excited that she clapped her hands. One more time. One more time. Xiao Tsong calmly got off the light shui and covered his chest with his hands. With a cold expression, he knelt down in the snow and vomited. On the other side, Shenyuan she finally saw Jiao Jiao, whom she had been longing for. Everything had changed over the years, but Jiao Jiao was still the same in his eyes. Gu Jiao Jiao was wearing a light green brocade cloak. The edge of her hat was inlaid with a circle of snow-white fur. When the wind blew, the fur swayed gently, making her skin look even more beautiful. Jiao Jiao. He couldn't hide the excitement in his heart as he called out her name loudly. When Gu Jiao Jiao heard him, she immediately turned around and saw the travel-worn youth across the frozen lotus pond. A trace of surprise flashed through her eyes, and the corners of her lips curled up. Jing Kong. Shenyuan she used his qing gong and leaped into the air. He wanted to give Jiao Jiao a handsome and confident figure so that Jiao Jiao would be immersed in his charm and be unable to extricate herself. At the same time, he wanted to prove to Jiao Jiao that he was no longer the little wrestling monk from before. The palace maids all screamed. Heavens! Which girl could resist such a beautiful youth falling from the sky? Gu Jiao Jiao also smiled as she looked at the youth flying towards her. Just as he was about to land, a crisp and demonic voice suddenly sounded from not far away. Uncle Jing Kong. Ah! Shenyuan Shi's breath stagnated, his body stiffened, and he fell from the air. It was neither close nor far, and he just happened to fall in front of Gu Jiao Jiao. His handsome face fell, and he fell flat on his face. Gu Jiao Jiao, Shangguan Yen, all the palace maids, the culprit, Xiao Yan, ran over and squatted beside the Uncle Jing Kong. She tilted her head and looked at him curiously. 3 seconds later, she copied the same posture as the Uncle Jing Kong. She buried her face in the snow and positioned herself like a small horse. Everyone again. It was rare for him to act cool, but the result was that he fell like a toad. Shenyuan she wished that he could die on the spot. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth for 5 seconds before he calmly got up from the snow. Then he saw the little kid who imitated him. The young man's body trembled. No way! Did he fall so ugly? I want to die again. Gu Jiao Jiao laughed. Shenyuan she looked at her laughing uncontrollably and scratched his head. All right, if it could make Jiao Jiao happy, it was worth it no matter how ugly the fall was. Xiao Yan was very dedicated. No one helped her up, so she kept her unconscious posture. Shangguan Yen was angry and amused. Get up. It was Shenyuan Shi who lifted her up. He didn't realize that the way he lifted Xiao Yan was exactly the same as the way Xiao Hang lifted him. Uncle Jing Kong, I miss you so much. You've become more handsome. The way Xiao Yan flattered him was exactly the same as when he was a child. Family was really a wonderful pair of words. Jiao Jiao, Your Majesty. He greeted Gu Jiao Jiao and Shangguan Yen. Shangguan Yen nodded with relief. It's been hard on you. Did you get hurt? No. He shook his head decisively. Then he looked around. Huh? Why don't I see Tsong and Xiao Xian? Xiao Yan sat on his arm and complained with an exaggerated expression. Little brother was sitting in the sleigh and was so scared that he vomited. Xiao Tsong, who was carried by a palace maid, had a dark face again. I got carsick and vomited. Xiao Xian was the second child of Gu Jiao Jiao and Xiao Hang. He was also born in the 12th lunar month and just celebrated his second birthday a few days ago. He was sleeping. Shangguan Yen knew that the siblings had a lot of intimate things to talk about since they just came back from Jing Kong. She smiled and said, Xiao Xian should wake up. You can go and see him. Come to Feng Qi Palace for dinner tonight. Okay. Gu Jiao Jiao agreed. Shangguan Yen left with everyone. Shenyuan she put down Xiao Yan and cupped his hands to salute Shangguan Yen. Gu Jiao Jiao stared at the handsome and well-educated young man in front of her and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The little boy had really grown up. Xiao Yan could walk by herself. She walked in front of Xiao Kong. Xiao Tsong was a little weak after vomiting. Gu Jiao Jiao planned to take him from the palace maid. I'll do it. Shenyuan she said. He stretched out his slender arms and picked up the 5-year-old Xiao Kong, uncle from Jing Kong. Xiao Tsong weakly called out. He gently looked at the little guy in his arms. Don't talk. Gu Jiaojiao looked at him with a slight smile. You've grown taller. After a pause, she said, You've become tanned. The first sentence was quite funny, but the second sentence made him stiff. The dark history of being tanned by his bad brother-in-law came to his mind. His expression changed and he began to look around. Gu Jiaojiao said, Your brother-in-law is not here. He went to repair the gun with your brother Qing. Shenyuan, she coughed lightly. I didn't find a bad brother-in-law. Gu Jiaojiao smiled. Are you injured? She asked. I'm not injured, he said firmly. Gu Jiaojiao said, Okay, let me examine you later. He choked and his eyes flashed. No, I'm not a child. I can't show you. There were too many big and small injuries on his body. He didn't want her to see them. What's more, his injuries were nothing. No matter how many injuries he had, Jiao Jiao's injuries would only be more serious than his. He hurriedly changed the topic. Is Xiao Xian's body better? It was strange. Xiao Xian was clearly a single fetus, and a full-term fetus, but his body was much weaker than a premature boy-girl fetus. Jing Kong remembered that after the little guy was born, he was sick almost every month. During the confinement period, he lost weight instead of gaining weight. He had to drink so much medicine that his heart ached. Gu Jiaojiao paused and said, He's much better. While talking, the two came to the second prince's palace. Although Jing Kong was a man with a different surname, Shangguan Yen had already decreed that he was allowed to live in the imperial palace. Therefore, no one dared to stop him. When the two were about to come to the door of the palace, they saw a silly little bean cutely poking his head out. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/104094999. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 996. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. The little boy stuck out half of his body and looked around. He had a round little head and wore a clean little monk's robe. A string of small Buddhist prayer beads hung around his neck. He held the doorframe with one hand and held the string of small Buddhist prayer beads with the other. He looked very obedient and cute. Shenyuan Shi, however, was stunned. Who is this? As soon as he finished speaking, the little boy saw Gu Jiao. He wanted to come out but held himself back. He clung to the doorframe and called out in a childish voice, Mother! Shenyuan, she was petrified on the spot. This little monk couldn't be Xiao Xian? Xiao Xian became a monk. Gu Jiao saw his confusion. As she led him towards Xiao Xian, she explained, Xiao Xian's body is weak and he always falls sick every few days. Later, my mother carried Xiao Xian to the temple. The master in the temple said that he was fated with Buddha. Shenyuan, she was flabbergasted. And then, he became a monk? Gu Jiao held little Xiao Xian's hand. Well, you can say that. These clothes were worn by you when you were young. Princess Mother said that wearing old clothes is good luck and can let the child grow up safely. Shenyuan, she mumbled, no wonder it looked so familiar. When Shenyuan she left home, Xiao Xian was only 1 year old. Now that a year had passed, Xiao Xian didn't remember him. Xiao Xian raised his round little head and looked at him curiously with his big black grape-like eyes. Who are you? Shen Yuan, she pinched his little face. I'm your uncle from Jing Kong. Do you still remember me? Little Xiao Xian shook his head very honestly. Shen Yuan, she smiled. Xiao Tsung, who was lying in his arms, opened his eyes and glanced at his younger brother. Tell your uncle in Jing Kong what your name is. Little Xiao Xian nodded obediently and began to introduce himself in a childish voice. My name is Xiao Xian, and my Dharma name is Shi Rexan. Shen Yuan Shi, you even have a Dharma name. Xiao Xian looked smaller and thinner than other children his age, but Shen Yuan she learned from Gu Jiao that he didn't get sick as easily as he did when he was 1 year old. Yao Shi and Princess Xian Yang felt more and more that raising the little guy as a monk was the right choice. There was a precedent for this among the relatives they knew. Kuan Dao Yuan Baolin. Gu Jiao held little Xiao Xian's hand and walked in. Shen Yuan she looked at the 2-year-old boy who was struggling in the snow. He wanted to ask Jiao Jiao if he didn't want to hug him. Xiao Tsung said calmly, Mother hugs you the most. She rarely hugs the 3 of us. Shen Yuan she was stunned. Gu Jiao gave her love for her eldest son to Jing Kong without any reservation. At that time, she didn't know how to be a parent. She and Xiao Hang struggled to raise the little monk they brought back from the mountains. The little monk chased after her all day long, wanting to be her little tail. The little monk always sat on the doorstep and waited for her to come home no matter how late it was. The little monk would act spoiled and ask for kisses. He also liked to stay in her arms. It was her first time raising a child. She couldn't do anything about the clingy little monk. She could only spoil him. Fortunately, she didn't spoil him. The little monk who used to wrestle grew up to be an indomitable black wind rider. Xiao Tsung sighed like an adult. Ah, I'm jealous. Shen Yuan Shi's eyes reddened. Heat waves rolled in his heart. His Jiao Jiao, Xiao Tsung reminded him, Uncle, you're hugging me too tightly. I can't breathe. Xiao Hang and Shangguan Qing came back 2 hours later. His harem was getting bigger and bigger. After his first wife, he had 6 more concubines, all of whom had top-grade firearms. Today, his first wife's firearm was broken. It took a long time to fix it. The 2 brothers didn't know that they had come back from Jing Kong. As they walked to the twins' bedroom, they said, If Mother knows that you like firearms so much, she'll take them all away for you. Shangguan Qing said, Don't tell Mother. Xiao Hang said with amusement, Mother asked me to ask you, are you satisfied with the daughters of the aristocratic families she picked for you last time? Shangguan Qing waved his hand carelessly. I'm not dissatisfied. If she likes them, she can put them in my backyard. Xiao Hang asked, Aren't you afraid that your backyard will catch fire? Shangguan Qing put a hand on his brother's shoulder and said cynically, Ah, men, you know. Xiao Heng firmly drew a line with him. I don't know. My love for Jiao Jiao is stronger than gold. Shangguan Qing hit the nail on the head. Gold is very soft. Xiao Hang. Shangguan Qing hadn't met his destined daughter yet. He was also very worried. It wasn't that he didn't like women, but he hadn't met anyone who moved him. What could he do? I've said it before. She has to be as good at martial arts as Jiao Jiao, as dignified and gentle as Mother, and as humorous and witty as Mother. Such a woman is my destiny. Xiao Heng glanced at him speechlessly. You can be single for the rest of your life. As the 2 brothers talked, Xiao Yan's voice came from the bedroom. She was patiently teaching her brother. What's 1 plus 1? 1, Xiao Xian said. Xiao Yan touched her forehead. I've taught you this many times. It's not 1, it's 2. Xiao Xian said, 2. Right. On the Kong bed in the warm room, Xiao Yan sat cross-legged opposite her brother. Say it again. What's 1 plus 1? Xiao Xian said, 1. Xiao Yan took a deep breath. 1 times 1 equals 1. What's 2 plus 2? She took out 4 fingers and looked at little Xiao Xian with a mischievous gaze. Xiao Xian said, 2. Xiao Yan collapsed. Xiao Yan sat up and grabbed her clothes. She breathed in and out. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know how to do this, right? Xiao Xian nodded. Xiao Yan taught seriously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Xiao Xian answered seriously. Shang, mountain, hit, tiger, head, axe, tiger. Xiao Yan spat out 180 degrees of blood on the spot. After spitting out the non-existent blood, she fell backwards. Her small body sprawled out on the heated bed. Next door, Gu Jiao had just finished examining Xiao Tsong's body. He only had simple motion sickness and would be fine after a day or two of rest. She asked the nanny to take Xiao Tsong out. Shenyuan she also planned to go out. Sit down, Gu Jiao said. Shenyuan she scratched his head and smiled. I really don't need it. I didn't vomit. Gu Jiao pressed him down on the chair. The white light from the window shone on the youth's handsome face. He blushed a little, and his ears were visibly red. I'm really fine, he said. Gu Jiao took his pulse and asked seriously, Where are you hurt? No. He subconsciously retorted. He thought of something and his eyes flashed. He raised his left wrist and said, Are you talking about this? Gu Jiao lifted his sleeve slightly, revealing a red and swollen bruise. He said carelessly, I didn't hold the red tasseled spear properly that day and accidentally twisted it. In the past, he would sit on the threshold and wait to show her his small injury. He would even save his tears for her to see when she came back. Now, he was covered in bruises and refused to say a word. Let me do it. Xiao Heng's voice suddenly appeared at the door. The two of them looked at him in unison. You're back, Gu Jiao said. Xiao Heng nodded and stepped into the room. He looked at the medicine box on the table and said to Gu Jiao, There are couplets outside. Do you want to take a look? Okay. Gu Jiao left the medicine box and turned to leave the room. Shenyuan she pursed his lips reluctantly. What? I just said a few words to Jiao Jiao. Bad brother-in-law. When Xiao Hang saw him at the door, he didn't dare to recognize him. He hadn't seen him for a year and he had grown taller and more mature. He was no longer that immature child. He had the heroic spirit of a soldier and the murderous aura that came from the battlefield. But when he spoke, Xiao Hang was sure that he was still the little monk who fought with him in a battle of wits and courage. Xiao Heng said to him, Okay, Jiao Jiao is gone. There's nothing to hide. Take off your clothes. Shenyuan she vigilantly crossed his arms. What are you doing? Xiao Hang picked up the medicine on the table and said lightly, If I don't finish this medicine for you, I won't be able to help you if Jiao Jiao asks. Shenyuan she chose between letting Jiao Jiao worry or letting his bad brother-in-law worry. Then keep it a secret for me. Don't tell Jiao Jiao. Got it. He unbuttoned his clothes, revealing the mottled scars all over his body. When he was a child, Xiao Hang bathed him. Xiao Heng knew exactly where he had pockmarks on his body. Xiao Heng knew that he would be injured, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. Although most of the scars had healed, he must have been in a lot of pain at the time. This was also a child that he had raised himself. You. Xiao Heng's throat swelled with pain. Shenyuan she pretended not to see his slightly red eyes. He turned his face and said, Hurry up, I'm cold. The tip of his nose was also sore. It was strange. He didn't want to cry, but when his bad brother-in-law's eyes turned red, he couldn't help it. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_826/10408947. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 997. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Xiaoheng stayed in the room for half an hour before coming out. Just now, he deliberately gave Gu Jiao a reason to leave, not because Gu Jiao really wants to read the couplets. Sure enough, he went next door. Gu Jiao sat there motionless. That quiet look of hers made one's heart ache. Gu Jiao heard him push the door open. She got up and looked at him. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were worried. How is Jing Kong? Xiaoheng entered the room and put the empty bottle of medicine on the table. The answer was already obvious. Such a big bottle, their whole family can't use it in a year. It can be seen how many injuries Jing Kong has. Gu Jiao sullenly put her forehead on his tight chest. He raised his slender hand and gently rubbed her head. When she was depressed, he always comforted her like this. Xiaoheng whispered, "Don't be too sad." I looked carefully, his injuries are all healed. He can calmly explain to her. Just now in the room, he almost couldn't hold it in several times. Fortunately, his embarrassing appearance was not seen by Jiao Jiao, otherwise, he will have no face to see people in the future. She whispered, "He used to have acne. I didn't even want him to leave a small pockmark, so I wrapped his little hand. He sneaked out to scratch himself and was caught red-handed by Gu Chongqing. Now that he has so many scars on his body, her heart must be in pain. Also, he would even tell me when he hurt his finger by hitting walnuts." Xiaoheng doesn't know how to comfort her. Boys are like this. When they are young, they always stick to their mother. But as they slowly grow up, some words, some things can only be known by their father. Probably, this is the price of growing up. It's the child's protection of his mother. Dinner was placed in Shangguan Yan's room. Because Xiao Tsong just vomited, his body hasn't recovered, so someone has to carry him. Xiao Heng has already carried Xiao Yan and little Xiao Xian, so Gu Jiao went to carry Xiao Kong. But how can Shen Yuan she let Jiao Jiao be tired? He had to be the one to carry the baby. Shen Yuan she decisively took Xiao Kong. Xiao Tsong sat in his arms with a dark face. "Uncle, can you be a human?" Tonight was the New Year's Eve dinner. Dukan was invited to the palace, and so was Feng Wuxiu. Feng Wuxiu was rather confused. Why would they invite him or his brother to the reunion dinner in the palace every time? However, if the food made by the imperial chef was delicious, he would be happy to come. Shen Yuan Qi, Liao Chen, and priest Qing Feng were all stationed at the border and could not return to the capital. During dinner, Shen Yuan she finally found out that he has been conferred a marquis. To be honest, he doesn't care much about official positions. He didn't go to war to become an official. However, if he can show off to his bad brother-in-law, then he will be very happy. He picked up some vegetables with his chopsticks and said in an accent, some people are only the top scorer at 19 years old, but some people are already marquises at 13 years old." At the table, except for Xiao Yan and little Xiao Xian who didn't understand, everyone's mouth twitched. The familiar recipe, the familiar taste, that arrogant little monk is back. But what kind of Versailles is this? Only the top scorer at 19 years old? How do you want other top scorers to live? Also, should I remind you that your bad brother-in-law is the young chancellor of the Imperial College at 13 years old? The ceiling of one civil and one martial arts is taken down by the two of you. Shen Yuan she raised his chin and snorted, "I don't care. In any case, I am better than my bad brother-in-law." Xiaoheng picked up a piece of freshly deboned fish for him. "Eat your food." Shen Yuan she didn't feel like eating meat when he was 10 years old. In the beginning, he could only drink a bit of meat soup. Later on, he gradually ate a bit of small fish and shrimp. Now, he can also eat a bit of lean meat. He just can't eat too much. Shen Yuan she snorted and began to eat heartily. At this time, he was a carefree child again. New Year's Eve was also Xiao Hang and Shen Yuan Shi's birthday. The Imperial Kitchen made longevity noodles for the two, and Shen Yuan she finished it all in one gulp. He never went hungry at home, but on the battlefield, he went hungry every few days. This caused everything he ate to be especially delicious. The adults at the table saw him like this and couldn't help but feel some heartache. Dukan smiled and tried to smooth things over. I almost forgot to give you a present. Shen Yuan she took his head out of the bowl of noodles. Oh, there's a present? For me? Dukan smiled. You and Ah Hing both get one. Everyone gave Xiao Hang books, antiques, calligraphy, and paintings as gifts. The gifts for Shen Yuan she were much more varied. Gu Jiao gave him a newly made 9-section whip. Gu Xiaoshun also designed a hidden weapon on the whip. It could be used to attack, defend, and sneak attack. Shen Yuan she went outside to try it out. The weight and length were just right, and the flexibility was perfect. He liked it very much. He tied the whip to his waist and returned to his seat. He asked Xiao Hang, "Brother-in-law, what do you have for me?" Xiao Hang said indifferently, "No, I didn't know you were coming back." Just as he said this, there was a sudden whoosh from outside the hall. Immediately after, golden fireworks bloomed in the endless sky. Fireworks! Shen Yuan Shi's eyes widened, and he dashed out with a whoosh. Xiao Yan was extremely anxious. "I also want to see. I also want to see. I also want to see." The doors and windows were wide open. The position of the reunion dinner was excellent. The angle of the fireworks was also carefully calculated. Sitting down, one could watch the fireworks feast. But the fireworks were gorgeous, so everyone went to the small garden outside the hall. The colorful golden fireworks bloomed again and again. The entire night sky was lit up, and the whole palace witnessed this magnificent fireworks. Bang! 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 Xiao Yan was so excited that she cried out, "So beautiful! So beautiful!" The quiet and beautiful young man Xiao Tsung also felt that tonight's fireworks were beautiful. Xiao Xian, who was only 2 years old, was scared by the explosion and hid in Shangguan Yan's arms. There were a total of 13 fireworks. Shen Yuan she looked up at the sky full of colorful lights. He was reluctant to blink. Gu Jiao came to his side at some unknown time. She also looked at the gorgeous fireworks and softly said, "Your brother-in-law specially made it for you." Huh? He was startled. Gu Jiao said, "When you came back from Liang State last year, didn't you say that Liang State's fireworks were beautiful? Your brother-in-law made it for you. He planned to show it to you on your 12th birthday, but you joined the army." Xiao Hang didn't say it, but he always remembered it in his heart. Jing Kong was a year older, so he made more fireworks. He just waited for Jing Kong to come back safely. Gu Jiao smiled and looked at him. "Your brother-in-law loves you very much." Just like how he loved his eldest son, he was strict and picky. "But if you want the stars, I will not hesitate to give you the whole galaxy." Shen Yuan she pulled his slightly red little ears, glanced at his bad brother-in-law who was also watching the fireworks not far away, and whispered, "Jiao Jiao loves me the most." After watching the fireworks, Shangguan Qing brought the osmanthus wine brewed by the palace bartender. Shen Yuan she drank wine for the first time in his life. Well, it was Shangguan Qing who made him drink. He perfectly inherited Gu Jiao's alcohol tolerance. He got drunk after 1 cup. Then he also perfectly inherited Gu Jiao's alcohol tolerance. He held the wine pot in one hand and staggered on the grass in the small garden with the other hand. He took a deep breath and began to sing. "So what if the lyrics are worn out, bones and ashes are all mine, duckweed in troubled times, enduring the fire of war to burn the mountains and rivers, although I am humble, I dare not forget my country, even if no one knows me." He raised his right hand, turned his body, and said in a dramatic tone, "The people below the stage pass by, can't see the old color, the people on the stage sing, a heartbreaking farewell saw. Love is hard to fall in ink, she sings, blood is needed to make peace, the curtain rises, the curtain falls, she is finally a guest. The young man was thin and tall, and his face was as handsome as jade. He was a little tipsy and blurred after drinking. His cheeks were slightly flushed, and his singing was soul-stirring. He was indescribably handsome. Such a young man was truly captivating. The palace maids' hearts were thumping, and they all blushed unconsciously. Shangguan Qing was also drunk. He listened to the song while tapping on his leg. When the song ended, he raised the wine pot and shouted, "Good!" Gu Jiao sat next to Xiao Hang and looked at the young man who looked like a banished immortal. She smiled and said, "So beautiful." Xiao Hang was speechless. "Wife, look at me." Shen Yuan she drank 2 more mouthfuls and was so drunk that he passed out. Xiao Hang came over and carried him back. "I can walk by myself." He waved his hand and refused. Xiao Hang looked at him with anger and amusement. "Walk a few steps for me to see." Shen Yuan she was speechless. Xiao Hang carried him up. Shen Yuan she lay on his back and squeezed his shoulder. He muttered, "Bad brother-in-law, why do I feel that you have become smaller? You have grown up." How could he become smaller? An 8-year-old child and a 13-year-old child lying on the same back would naturally feel different. Shen Yuan she was drunk, but he did not forget to ask worriedly, Can you carry me?" Xiao Hang carried him in the direction of the bedroom. "I'm only 27. I'm very young. Why can't I carry a 13-year-old child?" "Oh." Shen Yuan she buried his face in his shoulder and said vaguely, "Then promise me, don't get old. You and Jiao Jiao. Don't get old." Xiao Hang smiled. "Okay, I won't get old." Shen Yuan she hugged Xiao Heng's neck and muttered drunkenly, "It doesn't matter if I get old. You raise me when I'm young, and I'll raise you when you're old." The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online are here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1040757778. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 998. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The 3 children were also tired from playing. Xiao Tsung was the first to fall asleep in Nguagong's arms. Little Xiao Xian, who was held by Shangguan Yan, was also very sleepy. The little bald head was like a chicken pecking rice. Xiao Yan wanted to light a few more firecrackers, but unfortunately, she ran out of power. She dragged her small body weakly to Gu Jiao's side. At this moment, she really couldn't walk, so Gu Jiao picked her up. And Guogong warmly said, "Let's send the children back to sleep first. His Majesty should also rest." Shangguan Yan nodded her head and lovingly looked at Xiao Xian, who was sleeping soundly in her arms. She wrapped his cloak tightly. "It's cold, it's time to go back." In fact, the twins were usually very sturdy. They generally didn't get sick in the wind and rain. Only little Xiao Xian's body was weak, so she had to be careful at all times. "Your Majesty, this old servant will do it." Wu Cixi wanted to take the child from Shangguan Yan's arms and send him back to Xiao Hang and Gu Jiao's palace. The drunk Shangguan Qing suddenly put down the wine pot and strode toward the two. Okay, I'll do it. You accompany my mother back." Shangguan Yan looked at her son suspiciously. She was very worried that he would break her baby in his drunken state. Shangguan Qing has the physique of a wine immortal. He gets drunk quickly and wakes up quickly. Otherwise, how could he single-handedly drink a large table of relatives and friends at Xiao Hang and Gu Jiao's wedding? Don't worry, I won't break him. I don't have an heir, so I'm counting on him to support me in the future. Shangguan Yen glared at him fiercely. After the new year, you must choose a wife for me. Shangguan Qing bitterly touched his nose. He drank too much and talked too much. Why didn't he mention that? He smiled and said, Good, 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 choose, choose, I choose. I'll listen to mother. I'm the most obedient. When Shangguan Yen heard this, she knew that he was being perfunctory. She helplessly shook her head and said, I should knock you out with a stick and throw you into a ditch. Let's see if you have your brother's good luck and be picked up by my daughter-in-law. Shangguan Qing. Mother, you're not serious. With Xiao Tsong in his left hand and little Xiao Xian in his right, Shangguan Qing sent them back to Zhaoyang Palace. Gu Jiao carried Xiao Yan and sent Dukan to the palace gate. Dukan could now move freely. He looked at Gu Jiao and the little fellow lying on her shoulder and sighed. I told you not to send them off, but you had to go so far in the wind. What if Yenner freezes? Xiao Yan opened one eyelid. Grandpa, I won't freeze. Dukan could not help but laugh. Xiao Yan had the strongest constitution among the 3 children, and she was also the most energetic one. She had never been sick since she was a child. However, he still didn't dare to be careless. That's all for now. I'm leaving. Grandpa, goodbye. Xiao Yan lay in her mother's arms and waved her small hand at him. Dukan smiled dotingly and turned to get on the carriage. Gu Jiao looked down at the little fellow in her arms. Okay, let's go back. Before she could finish her words, she saw Xiao Yan close her eyes and snore. She fell asleep in seconds. It's not easy to hold on until now. Gu Jiao curved her lips. Children are really fun. She carried Xiao Yan back to the palace. On the other side, Shangguan Yen also returned to her palace. She sat in front of the dressing table, and the little palace maid came forward to untie her hair. She looked at herself in the bronze mirror and pressed her sore eyebrows. Wu Cixi considerately stepped forward and asked, Your Majesty, are you tired? Shangguan Yen laughed and said, I'm getting old. I can't be compared to when I was young. I remember when I was in the imperial tomb, Qing always tried to find ways to stay up until the morning of the first day of the new year. Wu Cixi busily said, Look at what you said, how old are you? Although you are over 40 years old, your Majesty was born with a superior physique. You don't look old at all. Instead, you look very charming. Although your eyes are sharp, they are clean and clear. Shangguan Yen smiled. As an emperor who holds the power of life and death, she doesn't care about her appearance. Wu Cixi wanted to say something but hesitated. What's wrong? She saw Wu Cixi's expression from the bronze mirror. Wu Cixi smiled and looked at the little palace maid who was untying Shangguan Yan's hair. He said, This slave will do it. Shangguan Yen faintly raised her hand. The little palace maid understood and tactfully retreated. Wu Cixi took the pearl hairpin from Shangguan Yan's bun and said with a dry smile, Yen Shan Jun, sent another New Year gift. Does your Majesty want to take a look? In fact, as early as the year when Shangguan Yen ascended the throne, Yen Shan Jun asked to remove his royal status. The memorial was suppressed in the cabinet for several years, but Shangguan Yen never allowed it. As for why it was not allowed, outsiders didn't know the inside story. But as Shangguan Yan's confidant, Wu Cixi more or less knew a thing or two. This Yen Shan Jun was not a member of the great Yen imperial family. He was the child of the former Empress Dowager and the Tujue. The former Empress Dowager was not the retired emperor's biological mother. Therefore, he and His Majesty were not related by blood. For the first 2 years, he didn't understand Yen Shan Jun's thoughts. He thought that he was taking into account the relationship between uncle and nephew since childhood, so he often sent letters and gifts. Until one time, he accidentally bumped into Yen Shan Jun, who came to the imperial palace to visit His Majesty. Yen Shan Jun put His Majesty on the desk and deeply stared at His Majesty, saying, Shangguan Yen, I told you when we meet again, I will not be your imperial uncle. My goodness, he only hated that he was not blind and deaf. If he bumped into this, he was afraid that he would be silenced. Fortunately, His Majesty was merciful and didn't mention killing him. His Majesty later pushed Yen Shanjun away. As for whether it was because he disturbed him or His Majesty didn't have any interest in Yen Shanjun, he didn't know. No need, put it in the warehouse. Shangguan Yen lightly said. Wu Cixi opened his mouth. Ah, this? Shangguan Yen coldly looked at him from the bronze mirror. What this? If I tell you to do it, then do it. While Wu Cixi was worried about what to do, Shangguan Qing came. Wu Cixi felt as if he had been granted amnesty. Shangguan Qing stepped inside. I'll talk to my mother for a while. You go and get me a bowl of hangover soup. Yes. Yes. Wu Cixi hurriedly retreated. No one helped her with her hair, so Shangguan Yen had to do it herself. Shangguan Qing pulled a stool with his foot and sat down beside her. He tilted his head and looked at her with a smile. My mother is beautiful. Those women outside can't be compared to her. Shangguan Yen lightly said, Do I need you to say that? Shangguan Qing curled his lips. Well, you're quite good at it. Tsong and the others are asleep? Shangguan Yen took off the hair clip on her head. Shangguan Qing hummed. Shangguan Yen said, Then why did you come to my palace in the middle of the night? Did you drink too much and went to the wrong palace? Shangguan Qing bluntly said, I heard that Yen Shanjun gave you a New Year gift again. I want to see it. Shangguan Yen calmly said, If you want to see it, go see it yourself. Shangguan Qing suddenly changed the topic. He's a nice guy. Shangguan Yan's action of removing the earrings paused. She looked at her son from the bronze mirror. Shangguan Qing was bowing his head and admiring his new official boots. She didn't ask Shangguan Qing how he knew. Shangguan Qing looked unreliable, but he was actually very clever. Many things can't be hidden from him. Are you worried that I won't be willing to find a stepfather for me? No, I'm already so old. Having a stepfather won't affect me much. And, he paused and said, Yen Shanjun is very good to me. There are some things he didn't want me to tell you. I thought it would be better to tell you. I don't want to force you to accept anyone's feelings. I want you to know the whole truth, and then carefully consider your own choice. When I was a child, I always liked to escape from the Imperial Mausoleum to explore the outside world. Although there were guards following me, I always liked to drill into dangerous places. Several times I escaped from death thanks to Yen Shanjun. He was not in the capital for a few days. People always thought that he liked to travel. Many times, he actually went to find me, but he couldn't say it. He was afraid that Imperial Grandfather would find out and suspect that you colluded with him. He took out a wooden dagger from his arms. There were a few teeth marks on it. It was bitten by the woman who was about to give birth under the Ghost Mountain. When I was 7 years old, he made it for me. Also, when you were dealing with the Crown Prince, he revealed a lot of information about the Crown Prince's mansion to the palace people around you. So, if you don't accept him because you are worried about me, you can dispel this doubt. The next day, Xiao Heng paid the price for carrying the Jing Kong. When he woke up, his waist and back were sore. That kid is too heavy. When he was a child, he always looked a year younger than his peers. How could he grow so much when he was older? At 13 years old, he was taller than Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan, who were 15 years old. Gu Jiao sat up and looked at him. There were so many guards, but you had to carry it yourself. Does it hurt? It doesn't hurt. Xiao Hang put down the hand that was rubbing his back in a second and sat up straight to save face. Gu Jiao pursed her lips and slowly pulled back the quilt behind her, revealing 3 small black heads. The 3 of them looked at him with blinking eyes. Xiao Hang was stunned. Gu Jiao said mischievously, Did you hear that? Just now, Father said it doesn't hurt. We can go hiking today. Xiao Hang. Digression. Ha 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 ha, I can't hold it in anymore. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/104070689. HTML Genius memorized the website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.